lead guy in this type of situation is hard because you don't, how deep can I go?
Yeah.
You know, how much momentum, how big, how deep's that puddle?
Huge sideways moment for the leader as he came through the middle section of the bus stop. Looked like he was rally crossing that car for a moment.
We got through the biggest stars of the race for me: Felipe Nasser, Fernando Alonso, and Alexander Rossi in the top 3 cars, separated by just a second or so.
And just over 2 hours to run before the checkered flag comes out and the Rolex Daytonas get polished and handed out. Now here comes our leader through the tri-oval. The huge line of split.
Didn't Nasser race Formula One?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so now think about what's going through his mind. He's thinking, hey, I should have been. Oh, but he went in too deep. He went in too deep.
He's off at turn 1.
He's lost a lot of time, got a little bit greedy. He's thinking this is my chance to also show the F1 people, hey, I'm still in the game. We got somebody else flying off in one. Again,
it's the 5 car. It's the 5. That's Joao Barbosa. He's gathered it all up. The Mustang sampling car doing the right-hand turn. Did somebody else get in? Oh, big spin right alongside him was the 54. That was Loic Duval, who was spinning right towards a recovering Joao Barbosa. Turn 1 again is the bogey area. If you get offline there, you're in big trouble because it's inches deep in water. Now a spin for the 47 at the same point. That's the Lamborghini, and he's facing 3/4 of the wrong direction, and that is the Pavlovich-driven car. So what happened? Oh, he's on the downshift, I think, as he was coming into turn 1, just went for the second downshift, and it locked up the back wheels for me there, Johnny.
You know, back in the day, we used to have to do that ourselves with a heel-toe downshift right there. You know, again, it can be paint, it can be puddle, but look at how close that was for everybody watching.
54, Loic Duval in the Nissan. He just looped it and was for a moment heading for a head-on impact to the recovering Joao Barbosa, all on the runoff area at turn 1. Scary moments.
GTD.
Yeah, and it's the 29. It's Daniel Morad in the Audi. Now remember, the Audi R8 is a street car, is Quattro. It's all-wheel drive, not allowed in GTD. That's rear drive only. And Daniel Morad has fought his way past Matt Campbell and is up into the lead for Monteplas by Land, the 29 car with the green lights. Off is the remaining JDC Miller Motorsport car at the bus stop, and that was Devon DiFrancesco. He's managed to get the car pointing in the right direction. Is there damage to the rear suspension? Now he's got to work out how to get back on the track, and he's going grass tracking as well through a huge puddle. I hope somebody got that as a picture as he sprays water, mud and everything all over the place.
Alonso just went so far outside the line in turn 1, and I'm thinking, man, is he being cagey and trying to find grip out there? But they're
I think they're surviving.
That was
and it's going to be one more lap before they get any heat in the tires. We've seen this 3 to 3.5 laps before they come up after the restart. Morad is off. Ferrari following him off there was Jeff's which of the Ferraris was that?
That would be Collado.
That was Collado, and
Collado.
Westbrook in there as well. Yeah, absolutely.
Westy right now, I think, is running about 1.5 seconds or so in front of him, but it's really interesting for the fans.
911 off as well. Nick Tandy at turn 1, and there was another car involved there. Was that the 47 again? I think it might have been. Tandy looking very, very racy indeed. He was not happy, so something had happened there in the braking area to turn 1 that sent him into the standing water. The problem there is you can't
where to hit your braking point.
The weather's closing in again too. The race is coming down harder. Last time around they were significantly slower.
Can't see the condors on the horizon. Down on A1 now.
It's a lot gloomier all the way around.
Another big slide going out onto the turn 6 banking from Daniel Morad. He's still listed it out, is in second place in GTLM. Behind him, the white and green Audi, the 29, and the grey 73 Porsche are battling for first and second in GTD. And Fred Vervish has dropped away from this. He's 8 seconds further back in the 88 Audi.
John,
this is the race. This could be the race right here. This could be who gets the watches, Jamie.
Yeah, it's just like Johnny said for the drivers behind the wheel. If you walk up and down pit lane and look up at the boxes, all of the teams sitting on their hands, they're biting their fingernails. The tension is so high, you can see it on their body language. It could be the last lap of the race at any point in time. Nobody knows what's going to happen with the weather and what's going to happen up in race control, so you can feel it down here on pit lane as well.
Make a position now if you can. This has been looked at very carefully to our left-hand side. The weather is closing in. It can't be more than 10 minutes away before we can't see the other. In fact, we almost can't see the other side of the airport.
I'm really interested in looking at the different lines they're taking to turns. NASCAR 3 and 4 for the leader and the second place car. Alonso a much higher line around the corner, and Nasser much lower down.
25 BMW going for a pass out on the circuit. I think that's going into the bus stop chicane. Yes, it is. Nasser has gone off, has he? Not quite. He's just held on to it.
These guys are fighting so hard, dude. This is so cool.
Who was the BMW trying to go by there? He was just going past traffic. In GT, it's still Westbrook by a second and a half from Collado. Ford from Ferrari with BMW.
Tell you what, Rossi went off at turn 1. He's rejoined. He's lost a fair bit of ground. He's lost probably 5 seconds with that off at turn 1. That's Alexander Rossi in 3rd place.
Don't tell these guys that you can't race in these conditions, because they are absolutely on the outer edge of the performance envelope of the car. This is outstanding.
And the driver. This is really tough out there right now.
There's nothing being left out. Nick Tandy's been off the circuit, coming onto the high banks at turn 6. Tandy back up into 5th position and gets back up to speed. 5th position in his class. Here comes the 31. Splish, splash, jumping through the puddles at turn 6 and onto the bank section at Speedway turn 1. Every time he sees a car ahead of him now, he's got to have his heart in his mouth. Not that he doesn't think he can deal with it, but you have no clue where that car's going to go when it hits the brakes.
Well, you know, the braking is the scariest part, okay? Because you can control your acceleration with the knobs on your steering wheel, but how deep you can go in, how much has this corner changed from the last time you went there? And you can just see, just struggling right here. There's a big puddle. Okay, and you're trying to find different lines through. Now get straight. Now go. Now pull the trigger. But
when you hit the water, you see the cars stop. The water is so deep, it's actually like putting an e-brake on the cars.
Back in the day, okay, and I know there are a lot of teams here that wish they could do it. Teams would have tire groovers, and you could open up the grooves in your tire to get more wet. So and that's kind of the situation that we would find ourselves in right now if you're running a team, is, you know, open up your grooves a little bit.
Matt Ludvigsen has just won the internet. This is the tweet of the week so far. Surely Rolex should be awarding not Daytonas this weekend, but Submariners. Very, very good watch knowledge there, Matt. That's outstanding stuff. The leader is still Felipe Nasser. 2 hours and 11 minutes to go. And it's Fernando Alonso now 2.4 seconds behind. That was a great last lap by Felipe Nasser. And has that broken the resolve of the Spaniard? Absolutely not.
No chance.
Rossi, though, dropped 11 seconds to the guys ahead of him on that last lap.
Yeah, and that was all down turn 1.
Oh, big locker by Alonso. Has to cadence brake. The left front wheels absolutely locked as he went through to the west hairpin. But in our Porsche keys to the race, we said, don't panic. It was awesome car control. He was locked up. He did that thing that's counterintuitive, off the brakes and then back on again. 66 Ford has a problem. And the leader in GTD has had a spin. The 29, that's Daniel Morad. Now that's turn 1 as well. Can he get that turned around and pointing in the right direction? He's lost the position. Through has got Lucas Stoltz in the 33 Mercedes. He's had to get reversed a couple of times and he drops back in. But I think he's dropped in behind Christian Engelhardt. He certainly lost the lead, and through goes Lucas Stoltz. And there's another car off down there, and I can't even identify it. The spray is so thick. It's one of the Mercedes, and it actually outdrags a prototype coming back on. And who was that who went long? It was, in fact, no, it wasn't the Mercedes, it was the BMW. It was Augusto Farfus.
Frederick Verbisch had an off on that last lap as well. He dropped several positions, a couple of positions in GTD.
It's a bit easier to say who didn't have an off.
That's true.
Last time around. It's got all of a sudden got very serious.
His lead now.
Under 2 minutes. Under 2 minutes.
Oh, but he's struggling to get through. I mean, catch after catch after catch. I mean, I don't know who a great rally driver is, but that's what he's doing right now. He's doing
Sebastian Loeb or Sebastian Ogier would be absolutely delighted. It is the Monte Carlo rally this weekend, and there'll be just the same amount of car control going on in the hills around Monaco. This is outstanding stuff by Nasser. He's in the groove now, though. You can see by the body language of the car, Johnny O'Connell, that he's feeling more confident. Yes, he knows he's going to have to deal with stuff, but just the way he's putting the car into places on the circuit, he's confident enough to go down the inside and take some of the GTD cars. He's just sideswiped almost the Audi that he was going past there as he came out of the West Horseshoe, because he's confident that the car's going to go where he wants. And a spin for the Starworks number 8 car.
Exit
that car's gone around.
That's the bus stop, and
that's a dangerous place.
Could bring out the full course caution.
And Christopher Haaser's gone off, and he is so experienced, and now he doesn't know what to do, Johnny, because he can't pull forward. And there's the 57 car going behind, had to go to the left and go on the grass. That is very, very dangerous. Haaser gets going again, and the 57 Caterpillar car with Catherine Legg in that car trying to make up positions. That was a split-second decision from Cat as well, and she had to take to the grass.
You know, this time in the race, I'd hate to be official, because we're seeing so many guys go off. The last thing you want to do, and again, as we see, you know, when the Juncos cars go off in one, so many guys are struggling right now in one.
Yeah.
That you don't want to stop the racing, but the last thing you want is to, number one, you know, see about $10 million worth of wrecked race cars, but also more importantly, see somebody get hurt, and it is bad right now.
What I'm just going to say is, when people get round turn 1, I'll mention it. If they spin, I won't bother, because it's actually easier to do it that way. 7 minutes and 2 hours to go.
Closer this time.
Alonso. And Alonso goes by into the lead.
He's going to go through.
Nasser can't get slowed down.
Cannot get that car slowed down. He had the cadence brake, and Alonso, having put the pressure on Felipe Nasser, has gone through, and Fernando Alonso has gone through into the lead, and the Konica Minolta number 10 car leads once again. Nasser will be kicking himself. That was a tiny mistake. He was maybe 6 or 8 feet too late on getting the car. The leader in GTD has gone round, Lucas Stoltz, and he looks like he stalled it. He stalled it as well. Engelhardt was right with him in the GRT, the Grasser Racing Lamborghini. That's going up onto the high banks at turn 6 as well. He spun down to the inside. Now he gets it going and gets it pointing in the right direction. So gets it up onto the banks and starts to pick up speed. I don't think there's any damage to that 33 Riley car. Well, it's all been happening.
Right.
The guys at the front of GTD, Morad first of all spun it off at turn 1, and then a few moments later, in fact the last time around, the lead of the race overall, Felipe Nasser just lost the front end at the crucial time. Had no choice but to get off the brakes there, Johnny, and let it run long.
Oh yeah, well, but he missed his mark by about a foot. That's all it took. He was in about a little bit deeper water and then wound up going straight, and Fernando is like, okay, thank you.
911 has gone off at the bus stop as well on the far side, and is right in the middle of the exit. That again is Nick Tandy. Nick Tandy's used to cars moving around. He used to do short track ovals, and he can't keep the car pointing in the right direction. And all of a sudden, Porsche make a hydrofoil as he goes through a big puddle on the inside.
Yeah, the Porsche's a bit struggling, haven't they? Vantour is...
and you'd expect them in the wet to be good, with the engine slightly further back.
And him just made a pit stop.
Yeah. Such challenging conditions, and changing every single lap.
Yeah, and Farfus got past Collado, so the BMW ahead of the Ferrari last time around.
Jeremy, the BMW's looked good since the restart. It really has.
It's looked good all race.
Yeah,
actually.
Well, you know, you can make a case for a lot of people winning overall and winning their class, but surely, if you let your heart rule your head, the BMWs in the first major international race after the death of Charlie Lamb on Thursday, that would be a very, very worthy set of winners, and there'd be a lot of emotion in that pit lane for that, and rightly so. Meantime, Fernando, and that's not saying that anybody else doesn't deserve to win, by the way, I'm just putting that out there. Fernando Alonso going into the infield, and I'm watching him through the binoculars, and it's every single part of the track as he now comes out of turn 6. the movement that he's doing on the wheel, he'll just be fingertips on the wheel, and he's just balancing it all the time. It's like driving on ice.
So soft.
Brilliant.
So soft. Minimal movements. And now, all right, let's put on our team manager hats right now. You got Kobayashi sitting, okay, to get in the car if you need him. Do you keep Fernando in to run into the finish, or do you do a driver change? These guys are going to have to make another stop, maybe two.
Intense concentration, isn't it? He's been in the wheel already for half an hour.
Yeah, but dude, there's a watch on the line, and I mean, this guy, he's doing this race because he wants to do something that hasn't been done.
Yeah, he could do the quadruple crown.
Yeah,
and it could be this year as well. Of course, he's won the Le Mans 24 Hours. He's won, actually, whichever way you call the Triple Crown, whether you call it the Monaco Grand Prix or the Formula One World Championship. He's got both of them under his belt, and the Indy 500, which he's going to try again with this year, next year with McLaren. And the Daytona 24. Well, wow, that would be a haul in the modern era.
The only thing that would be left for him would be Sebring.
Yeah.
But, you know, to knock that one out, I mean, it's pretty impressive what this guy's done. Granted, when your name is Fernando Alonso and you're a two-time world champion,
Fernando Alonso, I really like that, by the way.
You can get into the best rides. And so, you know, I'm sure when he was looking at who do I want to race, you know, Daytona with, well, it's the team that's had the best success.
Absolutely agree. Johnny O'Connell rooted to the spot here. He called in for a quick chat, and he's been here for nearly 3 hours now because it is just so exciting. Just over 2 hours to go. 22 gone. Oh, and again, the 85 car is off. De Francesco, he's going sideways, backwards, sideways again as he heads down towards the, I think, the international hairpin, or is that the other end of things? No, it's at the other end. It's the west end.
Oh, west one.
It's the west end. I can just see his headlights in the gloom. It's now I can barely see the far side of the airport as the weather is closing in. We've got the advantage on, in fact, even some of the cameras here as the yellow flags come out. We're above some of the weather, and we can actually probably see a bit better. And another car off. This is the 18, and that's the leader in LMP2. Sebastian Saavedra has had heavy contact with the wall, and that was where the 18 car shedding bodywork all over.
And look, the number 67 car is coming into the pits. That must be emergency service. The pits must have been closed.
Richard Westbrook from second position.
So Farfus in the BMW will lead.
Oh, little twitch.
Little twitch going through the kink for De Francesco, and then he's sideways. But where did Saavedra go off? I instinctively looked down at turn 1, but I don't think it was there, was it? Yes, it was. It was turn 1. Goes wide, tries to pinch the corner down, and you can't do that with that much water. You've just got to keep the steering straight, not touch anything. And Alonso had a big moment as well, and almost hit the back.
Oh, my goodness.
Almost hit the back of the strand. That was turn 6. That was turn 6, going back onto the high banks of the oval, and that was what, a foot, 18 inches.
I gotta tell you, you know what, it's so funny because, you know, we all have, you know, silly racing sayings. One of them is, when in doubt, flat out. You know what, when in doubt, straighten it out. So like, you get into turn 1, you know, get your hands to straight, slow your car down, you know, live to fight another day.
Johnny O'Connell is with me, John Hindhaugh and Jeremy Shaw in the IMSA Broadcast Centre. We're under another full course caution, and the rain is coming down even more heavily. 120 minutes to go. The Rolex watches have been polished, but we still don't know who'll be wearing them in 2 hours' time. Live from Daytona, this is the 57th running of the Rolex 24. Well, at least one thing, a yellow flag means we can catch our breath, because at every corner, on every lap, there's action. And whether it's great action with drivers making saves, keeping the car out the wall, whether it spins, I mean, this has been extraordinary. But what, Johnny, what we've got to say is what brilliant driving. The weather's changed again. This is not race control's fault. The weather has changed again. When we went back green, it was fine. We'll come back to that point at a moment. Bruce Jones is down in the pit lane with the number 18 Dragon Speed car. Sebastian Saavedra had that off at turn 6. Has he got it back to the pits?
He's got it back to the pits. The nose absolutely tattered, and they brought it brand new, well, not a brand new one that's not got the livery on it. It's largely black with a bit of red on the top. That is being bolted into position. Looks so the rest of the car is straight, but yet another clatter. And the rain, as you pointed out a couple of minutes ago, is way harder than it was even 10 minutes ago. Really, really treacherous conditions.
I don't think we can go back to green in these conditions, Johnny.
This is as bad as it was when the red flag came out.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna be this way for a while.
The only thing is, it's slightly lighter.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like it's 6 o'clock in the afternoon, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, certainly, because it should be sunshine here. But the rain is as heavy as it was. Now, let's see, does everybody get around? John Tegese of Sports Car 365 has just tweeted, nobody wants to win LMP2. I think you can say the same of GTD as well, John, if I'm honest, because the last two leaders have spun away at their advantage. Christian Engelhardt has it, but kept it on the island, and the Grasser Racing team now lead there. Here's how they stand behind the safety car in GTD. It's Christian Engelhardt for Grasser Racing team number 11 from Daniel Morad, who was leading, went off at turn 1. I may be saying that quite a lot. Jeff Siegel in third place for the first of the Lexus, the number 12 car. Then Fred Vervish, who dropped some positions when he went off at number 1 in the 88 Audi. Trent Hinman lurking there. Now, is he still on the lead lap? Yes, he is. But now, all of a sudden, I think only 5 cars on the lead GTD lap. Let them get around and I'll confirm that. But I think there's only 5, possibly 6, depending on where Nick Cassidy is on the circuit.
Is he trapped behind the safety car?
Yeah, well, in which case he will get the wave by, won't he? Yeah, absolutely right.
I think there's 3 cars actually trapped behind the safety car.
Look at how wet that is.
It is so wet in the bus stop.
You know how it's scary in a car? You know, like when you hydroplane, way more in a race car, because like if you wreck, a lot more people see it, and then you got to come up with an excuse. You know, there's no insurance generally. You know.
GT Le Mans, Augusto Farfus nicked back the lead just before the yellow flag from James Collado.
Well, no, he was ahead of Collado. That was when number 67 car came in the pits.
All right, got
Well, yeah, he had overtaken Collado. We saw that.
Red flag.
But then the problem, the clincher was the number 67 car coming in the pits
for emergency service, and the red flag is out. And that's Ford. Number 67 came in from the lead of GT Le Mans. It must have been short on fuel. So as it stands under the red flag, Farfus and BMW have the top position, from James Collado in second and Richard Westbrook in the Ford in third. In LMP2, it is the survival class. Saavedra got back out and is still leading, of course. And it's Cameron Castles now in the Performance Tech car in second, because Henrik Hedman has dropped way down. That car, the 81 car, stopped, lost a wheel on an outlap, and that car is still to make its way back round into the pit lane. At the top of the shop, Fernando Alonso from Philip Nasser, from Rossi, Alexander Rossi, Cadillac 10, Cadillac 31, Acura number 7. They'll pull into the acceleration lane on the pit lane in front of us. I feel we've been here before. 7:22 this morning and 12:39 this afternoon. The 2 red flags here at Daytona. 12:39. Write that down, Hindhoff, because it could become important. Now, before anybody asks, we've done more than half the race, so this is a race if it was called. I'm not preempting anything, I'm just informing you as our audience, both here at the track and further afield. We've also awarded all of the points for the Michelin Endurance Cup, because the last set of points there were awarded at 18 hours. So that's just, again, for information. Let's go down to the pit lane. Elton Julian has got a car that's leading LMP2, and it's in the top 6 overall. Bruce Jones is down there.
Elton, I just came down to Dragon Speed. We saw a new nose being fixed to the 18. We've just had the red flag flown. For now, is that the right decision? It's getting wetter and wetter as far as I can see.
Well, I mean, if you look at the conditions right now, it's torrential. I mean, absolutely. Although, you know, it's entertaining.
Well, in its own way, yes.
But when you run a team and you own a team, it's not so entertaining. Look, they had an amazing race at the front. I'm watching Fernando and Nasser go at it. So, I mean, from one side of me, you know, I'm like, man, this is awesome. But the other side of it, it's like, there's a limit. It's banking. You come to a venue that has so much safety implemented and so many things they make you take care of, and then we race in these conditions. It's hard to understand what one is or the other. But you know what? It's red flag now. It's been a crazy second half to this race. We happen to miraculously survive that, and we're still leading our class. So good. We're here now.
Now, apparently, the number 31 car I've just heard had a loose wheel. 81 has had a loose wheel on its outlap. Is that correct? Sorry, I'm getting a message in my ear.
No, that's not correct. We did not change wheels on that stop. They were in the middle of their second stint. We just threw Henrik in to finish his drive time. He had a minute and a half left. So it's a sheared upright. All by its lonesome. 2.5 hours to go.
Elton, I could see you just like the air going out of a balloon, but you're still smiling, and you're not letting Pastor Maldonado get away. He's got a bit more racing, perhaps.
More to do. I mean, look, it's funny, you know, people even within the team, they're like, oh, people always think there's preferences. There isn't. It's a team first, and I had a cushion. I could lose one bullet, and I've lost one. I have no more cushion. And immediately after that, the other guy buries it in the barrier. So I love Brent O'Neill, but I do not want to give him a Christmas present this big.
That's the way it goes. Thanks for keeping us entertained, Elton, as ever.
Fernando Alonso at the door of the safety car, having a chat with the safety car driver. So not a loose wheel then, a sheared upright. The shaking of the head of Fernando Alonso says all we need to know about what he thinks about the situation. But I'll temper that by saying he's leading the motor race. And if you're leading the motor race, then of course you want it stopped. I'm not saying that that's colouring his judgment, but if you're in second position and you're Philippe Nasser at the moment, you might want it to go back to green again, John.
Oh man, Nasser is gonna be.
He had that.
Oh yeah, he had it. He just, but again, under unbelievable pressure.
You know when I said nobody in GTD wants to win the race? Passing under yellow, car 11, the GTD leader, the number 11 Lamborghini under review. Well, there's not really much wiggle room there. It's either a pass under yellow or it isn't. Let's see what happens with that. That would re-promote Daniel Morad to the lead if any penalty was applied.
And the guy I feel really sorry for is number 67 Ford Chip Ganassi team, because they were committed to making that emergency service right as the yellow flag came out. So they had to come in the pits. They lost the lead because of that. If we don't go any further, then how much of a heartbreaker is that going to be?
Well, you know what?
NASA made he made a mistake.
Yeah.
But that would be really unfortunate for the Ford team.
Most of the time you leave these races sore, tired, and hurting, rarely happy.
Yes, indeed. Let's have your nominations for the Spirit of the Race Award. Use the hashtag DISSOTR at IMSA Radio, please. Everybody in the field has got some story to tell on this one, and this is going to be a tough call. Jeremy?
The marshals pulling those cars out of the quagmire down here, quite frankly.
Yeah,
and all day long. I mean, hats off to all of these guys and gals who've been out there in just appalling conditions and dealing with, well, just about everything but the sun.
Well, yes, indeed. We had sunshine yesterday. Hard to believe that this is the same longitude, latitude, and even season than when we started this race in bright sunshine yesterday. Rivers of water coming down from the banking and running down the apron here. And let's give you a quick update with the Cadillac hourly update a little earlier, but this is how they stand at the moment under red flag. The second red flag of this 2019 IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship Opener, the 57th running of the Rolex 24 Daytona. Fernando Alonso and the rest of the Konica Minolta team lead in their number 10 Cadillac from the 31 Whelen Engineering team in second, and the 7 Acura team Penske Acura in third position. Like Duval brought the 54 Core Autosport Nissan in fourth position to the Parc Fermé conditions on pit lane. And Devon DeFrancesco with a few offs, 3 laps further back in 5th position in the 85, the surviving JDC Miller Motorsport. Anybody who gets to the end here just needs a survivor's t-shirt, don't they? 6th position, the best of the P2s, Sebastian Saavedra. He's been off a couple of times as well, but somehow managed to hold on to the lead, which he has by 6 laps over Cameron Castles in the Performance Tech 38 car. 3rd in LMP2, Henrik Hedman in the 81 car, but many laps down, and I don't think that car's coming back with the sort of damage. May well have done enough to qualify for points, though. You don't have to be running at the end of this race. In GT Le Mans, the top car in 10th position overall, Augusto Farfus in the lead when the red flag came out in the 25, Rahal Letterman Lanigan BMW, the BMW M8 GTE, new to the championship last year. James Collado for Risi Competizione, the 62 Ferrari in 2nd. Then Richard Westbrook, is he going to be the unluckiest man at Daytona? Was leading moments before the red flag came out, needed to come down into pit lane under yellow and take emergency service, which dropped him out of the lead. Those are the only 3 cars on the lead lap in GT Le Mans. The result, should it be called now, would probably go back a lap, but I don't think that's going to save the 67 car. I think it was a couple of laps before that he was in the lead. And meantime in GTD, under review, the leader, Christian Engelhardt, the number 11 Grasser Racing Lamborghini, with a pass under yellow hanging over him. That's been looked at the moment. Daniel Morad was leading that class in the 29 Audi. That's the Monteplas by Land car. In 2nd at the moment on the timing and scoring screen, Jeff Siegel. He got shuffled back a little bit as fought his way back into 3rd in the number 12 Lexus. Then Fred Vervish in the 88 Audi. Trent Hinman in the 86, first of the MSR Acuras. Then the 2nd Acura. Nick Cassidy is the first off the lead lap in GTD in 6th position in the number 14. When was Richard Westbrook leading in the GT Le Mans category?
Before the first yellow came out, so
right.
not before the red came out.
Okay, right. Thank you, Jeremy.
Guys, I got to tell you, I enjoy coming up here and talking racing with you two more than anybody. There is nobody, and I guarantee you that the IMSA fans will agree. You guys are the best in the business. It is fun. I want to thank all the fans as I walk through, here at Daytona that said hi and said, we wish you were still in a car. Trust me, so do I. But I'm going to head back down and to hang out with my Cadillac friends. Hope that things do end this way with Cadillac on top. But thank you guys so much to all the fans here. Get yourself to a Cadillac dealer. A test drive in a V doesn't cost anything. All right?
No, ultimately it does, because I will guarantee 99% of people who get into an ATSV or a CTSV, you will not want to drive anything else after it.
I got to tell you, the chief engineer, Brandon Vivian, Tony Roma, all those guys, man, they build a serious hot rod. So anyway, thank you to all the fans. Thank you to you guys, and I'll look forward to seeing everybody at Sebring.
See you, man.
You know what? And let's hope this thing goes green again.
Johnny O'Connell's been brilliant. Nearly 3-hour stint there. That's a triple stint for J.O., part of the Cadillac ambassadorial team, adding colour and humour and insight as well. Always enjoy working with Johnny. Well, Jeremy, heavens above. Heavens above. Are you writing a race report for this?
Nope.
I bet you're pleased.
Yep.
Bet you're pleased. Let's go down to the pit lane. We've been raving about 3 Formula One drivers at the front of the field. Alonso, Nasser and Rossi. There's another one in the field, of course, and that's Rubens Barrichello. And he is with Bruce Jones right now.
Rubens, we know we can't keep you away from racing cars, but on days like this, when in conditions like this, does it take the edge off it for you, or do you just want to get back out and carry on?
I mean, I might sound crazy. My wife hates when I say that, but I actually do feel like I want to go back and race. But having said that, it's we gotta say that visibility it has been really bad. With visibility being the worst, you don't know where the puddles are, and then you aquaplane, and that's what is happening right now. Every time they send the cars out, I just called actually my wife and said, look, I'm going back to the car. And she said, I hope they throw the reds because it just looks too much. And I just called her and said, hey, your wish was you know, send it back, because right now it's impossible, especially at the bus stop. It's really a lot of water standing. And because you go into the apron and you have the lines and so on, it makes it very, very difficult. Although I love the wets, as you probably know, and you remember, you know,
from long, long ago, Rubens.
Oh, I just love it. Even nowadays, I just love it, and I practice with my boys going to the track and slicks on wets and so on a wet track. But the way that it is dry now, it's the best decision. We cannot race. We cannot put everyone in jeopardy. So make it safe.
No, and indeed, the pattern has been established. It's been yellow flag, we go green, immediately we get to yellow. So I think that probably tells the story, doesn't it, Rubens?
It does, it does. And I wouldn't, for now, even put 5 minutes of racing right at the end, because, you know, we could cause something very dramatic. Right now, it's not a wet track that it makes fun, that people like it or dislike. Right now, it's really difficult to see ahead. The washers doesn't keep up, it's fogging, so you enjoy less and less. But I think Daytona is just wonderful. So it's a pity that it gets this way, but some years it might do.
It might indeed. Good to speak to you, Rubens. Che.
With Matt Campbell, and you were in the 73 Park Place Porsche when this red flag came out. What were the conditions like from your point of view? I mean, you're in a Porsche, so they had to be pretty good, right?
Yeah, I mean, I like to say so, but I mean, I haven't driven in conditions like that in my entire life, so very, very treacherous and extremely difficult just to keep it on track at extremely low speeds. So we kept it on. Unfortunately, the red flag just came at the wrong time for us and after our fueling pit stop, but hey, we're still in fight, we're still on lead lap, and we'll just have to wait and see what this weather does now.
It's very unstable weather, much like where both of us will be next week at this time at Mount Panorama. How do you mentally go from a place that's cold and rainy to a place that's hot and hopefully dry?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit easy for myself. Obviously, that's, you know, home race for myself. It's the only one I get to do nowadays, and it's my favourite racetrack in the entire world. So I find it very enjoyable, and you know, it's my first experience at Daytona 24, and you know, I'm really loving it. But looking forward to the next weekend for sure.
Good luck here, and good luck next week.
Thank you. Cheers.
With the Matt Campbell fan club in the background there. Amy, thank you very much for tweeting in at IMSA Radio using the hashtag IMSA50. Ford Performance, with 2 hours to remain, tweeted out, we just went yellow. The number 67 has held the lead, but will be pitting shortly as part of an alternative strategy. The repaired 6611 that down. So it wasn't emergency service for the number 67. So they came in on an alternative strategy by their own tweet at 2 hours to go as that yellow came out. So they must have waited until the pits opened.
Well, I mean, what's odd about that is that they had the. I think the red was out, and they had the opportunity not to come down pit lane.
The yellow was out.
The yellow was out, I think. Yeah, they came into, I think, a closed pit. I think.
Okay.
But maybe not. It certainly looked that way from here, but perhaps not. Perhaps he was past the commitment line.
12:39 was when the red flag went out. It's 12:55 now. Do the arithmetic yourself. We had 90 minutes under red flag conditions this morning when the red flag came out for weather at 22 minutes past 7 this morning Eastern time. Let's have your nominations for Spirit of the Race and also your questions for Michelin Post Race Tech. Use the hashtag Michelin PRT. Michelin PRT for Post Race Tech, and let's have them in to at IMSA Radio, please. Jeremy and I and the rest of the team, bit of an all skate after the checkered flag, and we'll be answering your questions, points arising, and maybe anything that you've noticed as we round up the weekend with the chat show that you decide the agenda for. You set the editorial content. Guide us, please, through Michelin Post Race Tech coming up after the checkered flag. And we've heard from the winning teams and drivers. Well, the rain is teeming down again. And once again, the big wet puddles on the infield give the evidence of just how much water is falling. Just looking around the circuit, there's at the moment no sign of any of the track services vehicles out doing any sweeping as yet. I think they must be waiting until the rain eases off just a little bit. No choice, Jeremy, with the visibility issues that were out there for another red flag to be thrown. The race control gave every opportunity, and indeed when we went green to start with, yes, it was a bit wet, but it dried up after 3 or 4 laps, and the lap times were coming down at the front of the field. What a battle though between Felipe Nasser and Fernando Alonso.
Yeah, fantastic. So no question, the last particularly the last 4 or 5 laps before the yellow came out there was pretty much on the edge, I would say. When even Fernando Alonso can't get around here in under 2 minutes on wet weather tyres, yeah, that's 10-12 seconds off what he was doing on wets in pretty wet conditions, let alone massively monsoon conditions like we had there. So no question, this was the right decision, and it is going to be awfully difficult, I fear, to get this race back underway again. But
there was a window. There was a window of opportunity. It was taken.
Yes.
And I think it worked. The rain had pretty much stopped. There's an awful lot of green and horrible colours on the weather radar that I can see off to my right. The question now will be, how long do you wait to make the decision? And that's not within our gift, and neither is it up to us to speculate. We'll leave that firmly in the hands of the decision makers to our left. We did see the race control staff, the senior race control staff, out on the track reviewing conditions. I don't even think there's any point in them doing that at the moment, to be quite honest. We'll keep an eye on what's going on next door and on the track as we pick up a little more from down in the pit lane. Christian Fittipaldi, in his last professional race, is down on the pit lane with Bruce Jones.
Christian, it was very emotional when you had your farewell party a few nights ago. You didn't know it was going to happen. So many stories, so many people to say thank you to, and so many memories from across the decades. I think we met close on 30 years ago when you came to the UK to race in Formula 3. Perhaps not the sunny end to your career you were looking for, and it's been quite a tough race for the number 5.
Is that true? 30 years ago?
No, it wasn't. I think it was 1990, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Philly Shave, Reynard, Dick Bennett.
Rolt. You have a...
It was a Rolt. Oh dear.
Yeah. No. Definitely part of my learning curve, racing over there. British Formula 3 is was in those days like incredibly competitive. But as you mentioned, it's not the end of the race that we were all expecting. But it went the way it went. Like I can't summarize 38 years of my life in 24 hours. Unfortunately, the cookie didn't crumble our way this year, and now we need to come back next year, obviously not with me driving the car, and see what we can get out of it. But there's still a lot of racing ahead of us. The 10 and the 31 are like really going for it, and they're making it really exciting. Awesome driving from Fernando, awesome driving from Nasser also, and if the rain could let off a little bit, maybe we could get going again, because it would be awesome to see those two go all the way to the end.
But if it does go, if we do go green again, are you going to have one more spell in the car?
Thank you. No.
No. Oh, well, there we are. Ladies and gentlemen, I think you should put your hands together for a man who's done fabulous things in the sport, for Christian Fittipaldi. Up to you, John.
Absolutely right. More than a golf clapper. Life lived in motorsport, as I said when we did the interview with him for our Long One series. Was very generous with his time over at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca last year, as the news was breaking about his decision to leave professional racing at the end of this race. One more go at the great race, and he said in that interview, Jeremy, that it wasn't about winning the race, it was just about doing some more laps here because the place is so special.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, this place does mean a lot to him. He's won the race 3 times, including last year. Knew he had a good shot at repeating and getting a 4th Rolex watch. So, you know, to have some, you know, some things happen that were pretty much out of his control. You know, it's it's really disappointing. But you know, he's been around racing long enough to know that things like this can happen. And you know, as far as his team is concerned, and you know, he's not going away from motor racing. He's staying involved with the Action Express team as a consultant, and so you know, he is going to be pleased at least that you know both of their cars are most likely going to finish in the top half dozen positions or so. So top 7, I guess. So you know, that's better than it could be a lot worse than that.
Far fewer cars in Parc Fermé now than there were this morning when we threw the first of the 2 red flags that we've had today. And if we look at the bottom end of the timing screen, that tells the tale of woe. The number 99 Porsche that had a lot of issues and eventually was retired. Mazda number 77 and 55 both going out. 77 with an internal engine issue. 55 retired as well after that incident this morning. And some other cars that we haven't seen very much of since accidents and incident. The Ferrari number 51, the Paul Dalla car, the 71 Mercedes. That car has been out of action for quite some time. Lamborghini Huracan number 47 seems to have been right in the centre of all kinds of bits and pieces, but I think that car is actually still running. Second in line on the pit lane, I've been told by Shea Adam. 540, that was the Black Swan car. That car's had its issues as well.
Yeah, particularly the last several hours.
Yeah, absolutely. The 52 Orica caught up in someone else's accident for Gabriel Aubry, and that car ripped off a wheel. Christopher Haase spinning a couple of times after being well up inside the top 10 in that Starworks car to run on or around the lead lap for pretty much 22 hours. But then all of a sudden, again, caught out by bad weather. And the list of drivers who have been caught out there, Johnny Palmer, reads like a who's who of sports car racing talent. It wasn't the bronze and silver drivers that were only being caught out. Everyone was struggling in those conditions. No choice but the red flag.
I don't think anybody can be invincible in these conditions. You know, as much as they've had mileage and time behind their relevant manufacturer cars, you can have Lamborghini and Audi specialists and those driving Ferraris for, you know, decades, but sometimes the science just takes over, and if the grip isn't there, if the car gets up on the top of the wake and aquaplanes, you are just a passenger. And yeah, just watching a few booths down, just grabbing a little bit of lunch. I had a good view of various spins, and like you say, it was a who's who of sort of graveyard of cars.
Where were you
down
looking?
there.
Everywhere.
Pretty much, yeah. To my left, to my right. I mean, thankfully you guys were pointing out the next incident, but they were overlapping at times, weren't they? You know, there was a car on the back straight, there was a car at turn 1, and somehow they, well, almost all avoided one another. There was a little bit of contact, I know, as a result of cars braking at the usual point, like a lap ago. That was a perfectly fine braking point, and then you get there literally 2 minutes later and there's no chance.
I thought actually what Johnny O'Connell said, an awful lot of what Johnny O'Connell said was worth listening to, but particularly one of the things that was interesting was, you know, it's like being a rally driver. Normally in a racing car on a track, everything else being equal, note I said that, if you do the same thing at the same point of the circuit, then you'll get the same result. That's what you're taught to do. Be consistent. Brake, change down, turn in, accelerate, exit the corner. Do it the same lap after lap, and your lap times will be consistent. That hasn't been the case, has it? Because you're arriving at corners where the grip level is absolutely fundamentally different, either better or, in the case at the end of that session before we went to red flag, fundamentally worse. So what you're doing is driving in and going, right, what's going to happen here? Much more like driving maybe an old single-seater on cross-plies in the 1960s or 70s, or being a rally driver, Jeremy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you weren't prepared to experiment, you weren't going to go any faster.
Good point.
Because if you just follow a line, it's just like the sprint car guys would have been in their element here today, with the cushion on the racetrack constantly evolving and moving, or ice racing where on frozen lakes where the track is constantly changing. because it gets chewed up by the studded tyres. I mean, there's all sorts of rally drivers, as you say, you've got to be experimental. You've got to be prepared to go to the edge and find out but you've got to find out where that edge is, and that's the tricky bit.
And you've got to be prepared, Johnny, to have the car moving around underneath you, whether that's in, through, out of the corner, or even in some cases on the straights as well.
Yeah, big wiggles going up out of turn 6 there have been, and you know, perilously close, millimetres away from the safer barrier. And I saw the big Cadillac, the number 31, with a big flick that Felipe Nasser was able to react cat-like to. But I mean, all these guys are used to the cars moving beneath them. It's also a little bit, I suppose, related to traffic, because if you're following a big batch of cars, they're doing a bit of the cleaning for you, I guess, and therefore turn 1 might be freer of water because a big clump of GTD cars have just been through. The next lap, if you're past them, it might have been a little bit of a wait since the previous car went through, and the rain has had chance to gather once more. But I mean, awesome car control, even though we've had the off-track moments. I don't think anybody should have credit taken away from them for that.
No.
And I know that's not what you're suggesting.
No, absolutely not. I agree with that. Kim Ellis has said unbearably stressful for us just to watch. I forgot to breathe more than once in that last segment of the race. That last 20 minutes of green nearly caused my heart to fail. Can't even begin to imagine what it was like inside the cars. I mean, that is, you know, we were holding our breath pretty much all the time watching that. And what it's like in the car is extraordinary. I mean, I can't even begin to describe the onboard footage that we were seeing, the shots from outside the car. Alonso, for me, was, and Nasser as well, and Rossi, but they were all, there was no thought there, Jeremy, of, oh, let's take it easy and get this car to the end and wait to see if there's a yellow flag coming out. No. They were all trying to find half a second here, half a tenth there. It was magnificent to watch, and you don't often get to see that with the cars moving around so much and masters at work.
It really was. It was a masterclass today from a bunch of different drivers, certainly Alonso one of them, and it's certainly interesting, that last stint with Alonso, Nasser and Alexander Rossi at the wheel of those top 3 cars. That was a fascinating battle. 2 of them had made mistakes really in those final few laps. Alonso, well, he made a few, but they weren't quite as big. And that's why his car, number 10 car, is in the lead of the race at the moment. But it was wonderful to watch those guys, and I'm so glad we got the opportunity to do that.
Anybody who was down sheltering near turn 1 was getting, as Jeremy says, a masterclass there, Johnny. But even Alonso went wide a couple of times, but he somehow just found the way to save the car and drag it back towards the apex without losing perhaps quite as much time as the guys around him.
The other thing we've got to remember is that we're in a really privileged position here from the height that we view this circuit, and we've got superb TV coverage on the live stream as well. These guys are having to deal with this race at ground level. They have visibility that is just out the front. These Ferraris, I don't think the bulkhead is that large now that there's still no rear view vision apart from an onboard camera that peers out the back. You look through the door mirrors. It reminds me a little bit of watching a football match at home, a soccer game. If you're in a high stand and you can't understand why the midfielder can't see the killer pass through to the left wing, that's because they're down at the bottom. You know, their head is 6 foot above the ground, not several feet, and we can go, there's loads of water there. Why is he using that bit of track? You cannot tell that at speed when your derriere is inches off the tarmac.
And the other thing is, Johnny, that as the track dries, you can see it because it's different. When it's all wet, it's all just wet and shiny. You don't know how deep each part of the track is. Let's go down to the pit lane. An interesting call on that last yellow at 2 hours for the leading GT Le Mans car, the Ford number 67, to come in to the pit lane. It's dropped them down out of a podium position. No, check that, it's still in 3rd position, but it dropped it down out of the lead. Brice Jones is down with the Chip Ganassi Ford Racing team.
Brian Briscoe, the 67 Ford, was leading until moments before the red flag was thrown. What brought it into the pits? Was it a splash and dash? What was going on?
Yeah, we were coming in for a routine, just full fuel stop, and then the yellow came out right before we made it to pit lane, so we had to make an emergency stop. So and then the red flags come out right away. So sort of bad timing, but we're hearing rumors that I don't know if this is going to be the end of the race, but usually the result of a red flag goes to the last car that was leading the green lap. So
you really have got your fingers and toes crossed, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, if that's the rule, I guess that'd be putting us in the lead. So I'm not sure exactly how that's going to play out, but I think that's how the rule is stated.
Okay, well, that's power of positive thought, but looking out at the rain coming down, it's not easing, is it? It's as heavy as it was when it went red.
Yeah, honestly, it was kind of crazy that it didn't go red before it did. I mean, there were just cars crashing everywhere. You know, everyone, all the drivers just complaining that it was absolutely undrivable and dangerous out there. So great job for all those that did stay on the track, and bad luck for those that didn't, because it's not entirely their fault. So really difficult conditions, and kudos to everyone that was keeping it on the road.
Thank you very much for talking to us. Ryan Briscoe, used to the sunny weather, not getting it this weekend in Florida.
I think his hopes may be driving rather than the rule book there. Not a rule that I'm familiar with, but I'm prepared to be put right on that. At IMSA Radio at Twitter, normally goes back a lap to before the red flag. Jeremy's lap chart has the 67 leading on lap number 569, and the red flag shown at the end of lap 571 for the GT Le Mans runners. Let's see if timing and scoring concurs with that, and how that would affect the result if we went back a lap or subsequently a couple of laps. Somebody's not going to be happy, whichever way round that is. And it's one of those things where really, as you can argue that both ways. Certainly in the UK, Johnny, you and I have commentated on many races, both at club level and international. A red flag, you normally take it back to the lap before the red flag was thrown, not the yellows.
The last lap completed, yes. Some cases it's a 2-lap rule, but that's not related to yellow flags, as we were hearing from the 67. Not sure. It's strange, isn't it, to have a BMW at the top of the GTLMs under the red flag, because I'm not even sure whether we've had an M8 lead at any point other than this.
You only have to lead one lap.
Quite right. Hey, and the BMWs didn't qualify particularly well, but I said at the time, I'm sure they're focusing much more on race pace. And Augusto Farfus had been hunting down the Ford and the Ferrari up ahead. The Porsches had dropped away very slightly, 912 and the 911, of course, with recent spins in the horrendous conditions as well. And that BMW, with its larger footprint, may be able to just deal with the the level of water out there, because it's slightly better balanced.
What about GT Daytona? I mean, that was extraordinary. We had a message on the screen that the 11 Lamborghini was being investigated for a potential overtake under yellow. Haven't seen anything about that yet. I'll try and check that now, but that seemed to be a class that nobody wanted to stay at the head of at one stage.
And we did say it was going to be a lottery, and choose a number out of a hat as far as a winner was concerned. And with so many cars entering, 23 in total, we were always going to get some fall by the wayside, with cars getting tangled up with one with another, and reliability issues as well. And the Lamborghini Huracan, Christian Engelhardt, has been keeping its nose dry after a lively mid-portion of the race. Well, really from the opener through to the 12-hour mark. I seem to remember talking about the number 11 car quite a lot, and not in positive terms, because of pit lane infringements and drive-throughs as well.
Right, I have gone back to race control, and the pass under yellow was under review about half an hour ago, and just before the top of the last hour, reviewed, no further action.
Okay.
So that is a sigh of relief from Christian Engelhardt and the rest of his team. Sebastian Saavedra, there's another man who tried very hard not to be leading his class. He still is, though. 6th position overall, and the Dragon Speed driver is with Bruce Jones, and he's, Sebastian at least, still at the top of the timing screen in LMP2.
Sebastian, what are your thoughts at the moment? You're leading LMP2, but it's been a really, really difficult last half hour. You had to come in for a new nose. Weren't the only car out there that got the conditions wrong.
I mean, it's been the toughest 24 hours of my life. I can tell you that. We had a rough night already, and we went back to the lead. I gotta give a big kudos to the whole Dragon Speed Motorsports for putting the car together and giving us a chance to be in front. But these past 2 stints have been insane. I am just like literally cannot see even the lines. I don't even know on the starts where I am. Like, my spotter is my eyes. My spotter is telling me when to brake. It's been crazy. Of course, we want to give a big show for the fans that are so amazing and they continue to be here with us. But as of right now, it's taking a lot more than that. It's very dangerous out there.
In fact, it's even wet under the awning in your tent. It's just flowing in downhill. There is so much water, and this is as heavy as it's been at any point in the race, the rain.
You should see inside the cars. Absolutely drenched. These cars are not meant to be boats, and it's completely soaked. We don't have any telemetry. We have no tire sensor pressures or nothing, just because it's being soaked and completely destroyed. So definitely this has been the most crazy conditions I've ever raced in my career. And for me, I want that Rolex very bad. It would suck that it would have to finish this way. But so right now, it's mostly for the safety of my fellow competitors too.
Yeah, make sure that watch is waterproof as well.
Exactly, let's do it.
Thanks very much for coming out and talking to us. Sebastian Saavedra.
Thank you very much, Bruce. I don't know if you heard it earlier on, but somebody sent in a note to say shouldn't be giving out Daytonas, it should be Rolex Submariners, which I thought was a
very clever,
excellent tweet.
Yes.
Excellent tweet for that one.
Hope the said person getting reward from re-mentions, retweets on Twitter as a result of that.
From IMSA, officially from IMSA, race control working on getting the track back in a raceable condition and reviewing positions. An update at 2 o'clock Eastern. That's 45 minutes away. Check that, 43 minutes away. That's an official from IMSA. And I'm keeping a very weather eye, pun absolutely intended, on the timing and scoring. I'll give you a Cadillac hourly update just so you can jot this down. Quick run through the positions of note. Top of the shop and in DPI, 10 Cadillac, 31 Cadillac, 7 Cadillac, and then off the lead, those
Acura.
3. That's sorry, yes, 7 Acura. Thank you, Johnny. All those 3 on the lead lap, and then in 4th position the Nissan, number 54, but some 4 laps away. LMP2, Saavedra, and the 18 Dragon Speed Orica, position number 1. Performance Tech 38 with 4 lap deficit. 3rd, the 81 Orica from the Dragon Speed team, down on 567 laps, so 22 laps in arrears. GT Le Mans, and this might be the contentious one, 25 BMW from 62 Ferrari, from the Ford number 67. Those 3, the only car on the lead, the only cars on the lead lap. The 2 Porsches, 1 lap and a 2nd lap further back for the 912 in 4th and the 911 in 5th. GTD with the yellow flag infringement sword of Damocles removed. It is the number 11 Lamborghini Huracan of Grasser Racing ahead of the 29. That's the Audi in 2nd place of the Monteplast by Lant organisation, and then the Ian Vassar-Sullivan number 12 Lexus in 3rd, with the 88 Audi in 4th and the 86 MSR Acura in 5th, and those 5 the only cars on the lead lap. That's your hourly update with Cadillac V Series, where racetrack meets the road. So if there's any changes from that now, hopefully you've jotted those down. So any changes from that, and the reason I say that, the tweet from IMSA, the race control is working on getting the track back and reviewing positions and update at 2 o'clock. Yoda's uncle, if the race is called and the BMW 25 wins the class, how bad is Tom Blomqvist going to be feeling because he couldn't get here due to the race issues? That's a fair point. Fair point. We'll come back to that in a minute as Bruce Jones is down in the pit lane, and with, I think he said, James Collado out of the 62 Risi Competizione Ferrari.
James Collado is indeed standing with me. We're in the dry, but James, everyone can see the track is far from dry. You're sitting 1 point, blink of a second, down from the class lead behind the 25 BMW. What are you thinking? I want it to be restarted, or are you thinking, are you crazy going out on that track again?
It's a difficult question. I mean, the cars are really sensitive to aquaplaning, so when the standing water becomes too much, it becomes dangerous, and you're literally hanging on for dear life. The last 5 laps of that last run should have probably been stopped a bit earlier than it did. I mean, I was 90 degrees on some of the bankings, so tricky conditions. Obviously, slightly annoyed that the rain came at this point, because we were really competitive with slightly less water on track, sometimes 2 seconds of that faster. So it's just the only issue was aquaplaning for me. The BMWs, they're higher, and they just able to clear the water better than us. And yeah, maybe we'll restart at 2 o'clock. I think there's going to be maybe a decision then, but I think I've got to take danger out of the window and just go for it if we restart. And you know, only a win matters for us.
Certainly does. The IMSA are out doing all they can to try and clear the track, but the clock is ticking, and as we can see, it's all just cloud up there and rain. Best of luck. But fantastic performance from you in the wet, but wet and full wet are slightly different things, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Thank you very much.
Yeah, great to hear from James Collado, factory Ferrari driver. El Prairie has looked at Rule 47.1 on stoppage of race upon display of the red flag during a race. Scoring stops. Competitors must follow the procedure in Article 27.4, any applicable SSRs, standard supplemental regulations. Overtaking prohibited. So nothing about going back 2 laps or back to the green flag leader in that. I didn't think I'd seen that, if I'm honest. Famous moments of the race, questions, thoughts, any winning memes? Hashtag Michelin PRT, please. Michelin PRT, and don't forget your Spirit of the Race award as well. That's DIS SOTR also as the hashtag to IMSA Radio. Tom Blomqvist should have been in that 25 car, had some visa issues. That's the point that we were trying to make earlier on, and Augusto Farfus stepped in.
Well, yeah, but the super sub, I mean, well, he's a regular with BMW, I'm well aware, and full DTM driver last year, and he's done some of the best stints of the lot of them. I'm not saying that Tom Blomqvist wouldn't have been equally as good, but maybe Augusto Farfus's ability to drive at close quarters in you know, touring car type traffic, if you like, drawing on those years in the European and the World Touring Car Championship when he raced with Alfa Romeo in the early days and then moved on to BMW, just well used to, you know, putting the car in the right place. I think Collado's point about the BMW being slightly higher.
Very interesting.
Now, was he talking about ride height there?
Yes.
Or was he talking about the roof line?
No, ride height.
So it can clear. Okay, so it's clearing the water more sufficiently underneath the car rather than the front splitter of the Ferrari acting more like a scoop, I suppose, and creating a bow wave behind it.
Jet drivers, dryers and sweepers are out. Further announcement in 35 minutes time, and if anyone from the 52 car can hear me down there in the pit lane, it looks like it's about to lose its car cover. That's the Orica number 52, which is back out on the pit lane, by the way, and running 4th in LMP2. So if one of the team from the 52 Orica can hear me, the car cover looking a little bit less than affixed, and also the same can be said of the number 88 Audi, the Canadian Maple Leaf car. That car cover has blown off to the back of it as well.
Is that like a public service announcement?
It is. It is indeed exactly that.
Yes.
This is a public service.
You've left your lights on in the car park.
Yes.
Number plate, license plate, such and such. Yeah, so we're trying to call back crews from those cars there because the car cover not doing their jobs at all.
No. The best one of those I ever heard on a public address system, I won't say where I was at a particular racetrack in the UK, and somebody did literally announce exactly what I'm about to say. Would the owner of car ABC123 please return and meet the fire brigade with the remnants of his vehicle?
No, that's not a message you want to hear on a public address system, is it?
Unbelievable.
Could I not have had to call 15 minutes ago when the situation was retrievable?
Correct.
Well, we're trying to do our job up here. I realise the innards of cars downstairs, the cockpits are already sodden throughout, water probably sloshing around. And Johnny O'Connell was telling us a story earlier on of a Corvette previously that had to drill the holes.
I heard that when I was having breakfast. Rule 27.4.5 was the rule on which the stoppage was referred to in the stoppage regulations, which says upon a red flag, lap times in progress are void, reverting to the last completely, and I quote, officially timed lap for each car. And I would suggest then that would be a yellow lap and not the green lap beforehand. However, Jeremy Shaw has just exploded back into the booth. I sent him to grab some lunch, and he's come back. He certainly hasn't had any lunch yet.
Revitalised.
It wasn't a burst of anything. I was awake briefly. So just to follow up on that. In actual fact, they showed us completing 593 laps. In fact, as they've come across the start-finish line now, that would be 594.
Copy.
So they've gone back to the previous lap, which was 593. So I'm pretty sure, as the scoring is showing now, is how we're going to see the results. Because, like I say, the leading cars have actually done
593 for Alonso.
Yeah. The top three.
And for the GTLMs, 571, exactly. Which is, I was looking at your notes earlier on.
Right.
And the last time that the 67 led was on 569.
Correct. So
outside of the window.
Out of ruck, I'm afraid. Because where I've written the red there, that is the lap in which they're just completed here, but that lap doesn't count because of that regulation, I believe.
Okay.
Nice try, but I think not.
Right, so we
grab that back. That's the chair.
The chair, by all means. The only reason I was sitting there is because you weren't in the room.
I know.
So you carry on.
Have you had some food?
Yeah, I had a hot dog.
Oh, okay.
Yes, good choice.
Well done.
Yes, that is Alcamel Systems are looking after timing again this year at Daytona, and that is something that they do quite quickly after a race, or indeed in a red flag session, correct the timing, and I would be very surprised if it's not now showing the accurate information for what could be called as a result. You know, we've not got laps to trim away.
No, I think I was expecting
agree.
that to tick over to 594, and it didn't, and that's why.
Yeah.
Give you some fastest lap details in a minute, just for the sake of probity, as we head down to Shea Adam, who, surprise, surprise, has found the Canadian team.
And, well, I came down to tell them that their car cover was loose, John, because you said that over the PA, and I wanted to make sure they got the message. But, Ian James, you've done this race a fair few times before. Have you ever seen anything like this at Daytona?
No, I mean, I think about 10 years ago we had to stop in the middle of the night for fog and rain, but this is, all my years racing, I've never seen it this bad, to be honest.
Do you think it's a good idea to get back going again?
I mean, if it stopped raining, we saw it, a dry line did appear, but if it keeps raining, no, I think common sense will probably prevail.
Team WRT with the Audi R8, that's a new car for you at the 24 Hours of Daytona. How's it been?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a great honor to race for WRT and the Audi Canada and the Heart of Racing guys this weekend. And this Audi is really a mega car to drive. I've been lucky to drive quite a few different GT3 cars, but this definitely ranks up there.
We're just adding another nationality onto your name, right? British, American, Canadian. Now you've been adopted by Roman DeAngelis.
Whatever it takes to get a ride, I'll do it.
Thanks, Ian.
Thanks.
Yes.
There's a few people like that back in the, what was that Nations Cup? What was it called? The World Cup of Motor Racing, where Ralph Furman raced for about 5 different countries.
Yes.
Remember that one?
Vaguely, yes.
It was national teams rather than team names. Remember that one, Jeremy?
Well, yeah. Well, they used to have the Nations Cup for Formula Vauxhall and things like that. Actually, Dan Partel I saw this weekend from the European Formula Drivers Association. He got a lot of young drivers' careers started, did Dan. It was nice to see it. Well, I didn't actually get a chance to speak to him, but saw him down in the paddock yesterday.
Let's take a look at some of the fastest laps by class. Via Italia Racing, 1:44.5 with the fastest GTD lap. Dragon Speed, the fastest LMP2. Dragon Speed, the number 81 car. Augusto Farfus's leading 25 BMW in GTLM with a 1:42.9 and a 1:34.5 for, and I think it was Philippe Nasser who put that time in the 31 Whelen engineering car. Let's head down to Townsend Bell. T-Bell is with Jeremy Shaw down in the pit lane. It's not with Jeremy Shaw at all.
The red flag has been flown quite a while
Sorry,
ago.
Bruce, go ahead.
But you're sitting here with the number 12 Lexus in third place. Do you want to go out again? Do you want the car to see if it can move up a couple of positions, or do you think the risk is maybe a bit too much? Your call.
Well, the risk is high. There's no question about that. Just watching the standing water, you know, some of these incidents are drivers are just helpless, it appears, you know, just absolutely caught out. Having said that, my teammate Jeff Siegel just did a phenomenal 2.5-hour stint getting this number 12 Lexus to the front. So, you know, the racer side of me is tempted, you know, want to get out there, do all of that. The teammate side of me is like, all right, well, I haven't driven these conditions, so it's going to take me a bit to figure it out. I've been studying our in-car camera, talking to Jeff a lot, making sure I understand what he's dealing with. But I'd say we're 50-50 sitting here watching, thinking, okay, third, be nice to win this thing. Third, be perfectly easy to not win this thing as well in these conditions. So let's see.
Just looking across at your weather map, it's more than a little bit lively. Green and yellow splodges just moving across at great speed. Doesn't look as though there's any gap for sunshine between now and 2:35.
Oh, I don't think we're going to see any sunshine. But, you know, Bo Barfield, who's the race director of this series, I like his racer's mentality. You know, he understands that this is a car race. All these great fans that are here at Daytona, they came to watch cars run around the racetrack. So, you know, he's a cowboy. We're used to it, and we'll be ready to go one way or the other.
But one thing that's been phenomenal, through about 3 or 4 hours ago, we had the top 12 cars in GTD all on the same lap in a race that's had an awful lot of rain, a lot of incident, so many manufacturers. It's a really great playground.
It really is, and it's fun to see the advantages that different manufacturers have in varied conditions. You can circle a few cars in the dry that look exceptionally strong, and then you can see some in the wet that sort of come alive. I also have to say that, you know, the Michelin rain tire, to even get around up behind the pace car is phenomenal with all the standing water. So they've brought a really great tire for us to use in these conditions. But make no mistake, this is not easy. Mentally, really, really stressful to do what these guys have been doing these last 2 hours.
Yeah, we take our hats off. It'd be one thing if you're doing it at a 2-hour race, but you're all quite tired. You're nearly at the end of a 24-hour race. We admire you all, but maybe you'll get that last roll of the dice, Townsend. Time will tell.
We'll find out.
Bruce Jones down in the pit lane with Townsend Bell. A1GP was the series that I was talking about, and Bruce was involved with that. Maybe have a chat with him about that and drivers' nationalities in a wee moment. The clock is ticking down towards 1 hour to go, and the situation is this. We are under a red flag, and we have been since 12:39, so that is some 55, 56 minutes ago when we went to red flag. And there will be a decision, or at least an update, an update provided by IMSA at 2 p.m. Eastern, which is now 25 minutes away. Another hour of racing, well, not a full hour, but whatever happens, we'll be here, and you'll hear it first on IMSA Radio, live from Daytona. Bruce Jones down there in the pit lane. The comment about A1GP was prompted by Ian James saying whatever nationality it takes to get the job. You were involved with A1GP quite a lot. There was one or two drivers who found grandparents and great-grandparents and made sure that they got themselves into that single-seater series on somewhat tenuous links, I seem to remember. Oh, lost Bruce down there, the pit lane. Hello, Bruce.
Sorry, Jeremy, I thought I'd flick my switch to on. It was only half on.
No.
Beginner's error, but yes, you're quite right. A lot of people who found a nationality for the purpose and suddenly remembered they had a Lebanese grandmother or something. But it was great fun, and a huge array of drivers up and down. In fact, Christian Fittipaldi was one of the very first winners. Sorry, Boston, I beg your pardon. I'm going completely mad. It was Nelson Piquet Jr. who won a couple of the early rounds. The first race at Brands Hatch in 2005. We had huge fun. But actually, racing for your nation is something very special. At the end of last year, I went to a GT event in Bahrain, and one of the drivers just said to me, "What other sport can you actually race? You know, sort of buy yourself a car." And be allowed to represent your nation. So he saw it as a gentleman driver, delighted to represent Sweden in his instance. But yes. I like it. It's very evocative when you race for your country, and you can make your car look brilliant with all the national flags draped on them.
Yeah, they did look very good indeed. Well, it wasn't an easy car to drive, that A1GP car. Some good drivers who got into that and actually struggled quite a bit. Hard car to set up, had a narrow operating window, I seem to remember.
Yeah, but it made them spectacular.
Yes.
It sounded brilliant with the Cosworth engine in particular, and then they decided to take the route of putting the Ferrari engine in that maybe was a little bit too advanced, but the cars were great fun. Not everyone liked their looks, but we went to really unusual places and some great circuits, and I still miss it in many ways, but it was also the fact that a lot of the drivers, they all had to go and do PR events together, and there was some really firm friendships made in that. Oliver Jarvis was one of the drivers, and he and James Hinchcliffe just became as thick as thieves. They were the comedy act on the coach to any function, and it was just nice to see. They were young racers having a good laugh around the world, and to get away from a Northern Hemisphere winter to go and race in New Zealand, Australia, South Africa, it wasn't a bad thing to be involved in.
Thanks very much, Bruce. Let's go through a few of the tweets coming in at IMSA Radio, hashtag IMSA50. Just got back from the rugby, says Alexander Orkin. There's a red flag with an hour to go. What's happened? The weather, Alexander, is the short answer to that. We had a red flag at 7:22 a.m. this morning, and then out again, just on an hour ago now. We have got the jet dryers out. The situation is that IMSA are trying to get the track back into some kind of raceable condition, or at least to where we could get the cars out round and clearing the track behind the safety car. Update at 2 p.m. Eastern. That will be 7 o'clock UK time, 8 in the evening in Central Europe. Mark Whitelake said, can the race be resumed tomorrow if the conditions don't improve? No, it can't. The race will be either called or time will expire today. Philip Lane with one for the team. How do you guys and girls deal with the jet lag? I'll be dead next week at the Bathurst 12 hours and sleeping for a week. Don't accept the premise of jet lag. If you don't accept that it exists, then it doesn't exist. Also, flying west helps. What I'll do on Monday, as soon as I get on into the airport to Orlando for my flight to LA and subsequently round to Sydney, I'll put myself on Australian time. So I'll start thinking about Australian time rather than the time zone I'm leaving. Always set yourself the time zone you're going to. David Brabham taught me that. Eat, sleep to the time zone that you're going to, not the one that you're leaving. And don't do the conversion in the head.
No. Never think of where you were. Always think of where you're going. Absolutely. Yeah. Actually, I saw something last year, towards the end of last year, about recommending you do it several days in advance and get yourself on the destination time, which is not a bad idea. It's not very practical in many respects probably, but certainly a good idea, because that's the easiest way to get around it, because it does take most people several days. I've been somewhat fortunate. It doesn't seem to affect me too badly. I think because I'm always flying coast to coast here, so that's a 3-hour differential each way, and I do that on a very regular basis. So So thankfully, it doesn't affect me too badly. But I know some people really struggle with it.
It was, as I say, it was David Brabham who told me the trick about eating and sleeping and thinking.
Put your watch to the destination time ASAP.
Yeah. First time I did that, I was 5 hours late for my flight. I did it too early. That was a very bad thing to do. There was another racing driver who had another way around it, James Weaver, in the early years of the American Le Mans series. Has a couple of glasses of red wine before he got on the plane. That was the one for him. The other thing, actually, I read President Clinton's autobiography, and he talked about the advantage of not having to travel commercial and flying during the daytimes, and how much that made a difference, particularly when flying back from west to east. So typically for me, when I'm leaving the US and going back to the UK, and I sought out daytime flights, even if I had to get up half an hour before I went to bed to get to typically either Chicago, Washington, or JFK, to get the day flights that landed at 10 o'clock, 10:30 in the evening in the UK. And that did make a big difference. It also made me a bit of a geek for airline timetables as well. But that was a good one. So thanks for the question there from the Twitter at IMSA Radio and the hashtag IMSA50. Don't forget, we'll be having a little bit of Michelin post-race tech as well. I suggest there'll be quite a lot of questions coming in from you out there about the action, how we condense it all down into half an hour. The good news is that I can see the coastline condominiums again.
Barely.
Well, I take it for sight better than it was, Jeremy.
True.
I could barely see the far side of the Daytona Beach Airport 15-20 minutes ago. Let's head down to Shea Adam for a nomination for hashtag DIS Spirit of the Race, hashtag DIS SOTR. Shea, who have you got in mind?
How about the guys sitting in the room next to you, John? Race control, because the ladies and gentlemen in there have a very difficult decision to make. If it all goes pear-shaped when they do go back to green, if they do go back to green, and the 4 cars leading their classes do not win, they're going to have 4 teams that are very angry to them. If they do call the race, they're going to have 4 teams who are in 2nd place and 3rd place, and etc., who are very angry with them. So it's just not a very comfortable place to be right now. Those ladies and gents have stayed up 24 hours more when you can put it all together. They deserve a round of applause.
Yeah, there's been a lot of tough calls to make, margin calls in some of the cases, but as you heard Townsend Bell saying about Bo Barfield, Bo was a racer of some repute over here, man from Texas, and raced single-seaters, Bo did over here, to quite a decent level, didn't he?
Yeah, raced to Indy Lights.
Indy Lights, yeah. And he likes to, you know, the race control mentality is obviously safety first, but it doesn't have to be hit the big red button for the yellow lights the moment that something happens. Let's see how it develops. And we've avoided a few yellow flags today like that. The weather, you can't control. Nobody can control that. And I don't think anybody's going to argue with any of the calls that have been made about either full course yellows or indeed the red flags, Jeremy. Marginal, to say the very least, in terms of cars being able to drive around in a street car. Darren Cox, who was in here earlier on, said even out on the street in a street car with street car ride height and street car tyres, it was sketchy. So out on the racetrack, even behind the safety, when you see people starting to lose it behind the safety car, yes, I know they're not going at racing speeds, they're not getting downforce, yada, yada, yada. But when people of the calibre of Dirk Muller and Chris Mees and all these people are finding it difficult to keep it pointing in the right direction, then, you know, race control there's a message, and race control have to take notice, and they did take notice. So I heartily agree with what Shea has said. You agree or disagree? Well, you can vote using the hashtag DISSOTR to @IMSA Radio. Nominate someone else if you prefer. Johnny, have you got a thought for Spirit of the Race here?
Everybody really involved.
Everybody.
Frankly, can we just do a blanket Spirit of the Race? I'm sure many people have mentioned track workers,
yes,
and the fact that, well, I still stand out for me was when those two cars arrived on the grass after a start line shunt, effectively, and talk about having to think about outside the box. I thought that was going to scupper the guys involved on the home stretch for over an hour, frankly, but you could tell them. To tell that actually they got out of the truck and were sort of scratching their heads going, now we can do this, but how exactly should we approach it? And I'm sure that a similar problem has been approached before, but in such wet weather conditions, I mean, it's now like at the end of a music festival in the UK, that bank of green Daytona grass, you know, and you're having to have your car or caravan towed by one of the big 4x4 type vehicles.
Or a tractor.
Or a tractor.
Farm tractor.
And of course, I suddenly thought there aren't any tractors that you can draw forward from the various housing stations around here. You've just got to do it with flatbeds and with conventional tow trucks. That one of them did a really good job in recovering the Lamborghini, the EB Motors machine, which had a missing rear wheel, and the tow truck driver, I thought, deserved every credit to just get the right amount of speed up, but not too much to bury the front wheels into the grass. And then, yeah, the way they recovered that number 9 car, it could go to anybody, but that stood out for me, just a little bit of out-of-the-box thinking to ensure that we could go racing again.
Jeremy, we reconvene. Whatever happens here at 2 o'clock, we reconvene in mid-March down at Sebring for the Mobil 1 12 hours. And on the evidence of what we've seen under green flag in both the series that we've had the privilege of watching here this weekend, looks like the IMSA season is getting off to a pretty decent start in terms of competitiveness, excitement and entertainment.
Yes, couldn't agree with you more. Each of the classes, certainly in this series, were fantastically closely matched. I think any of the 4 manufacturers in DPI could have won that race with things falling their way. I think they all had an opportunity to do so. We had just some fantastic racing amongst them. GTLM, that was as good as ever. GTD ditto, so nothing wrong there. In the Michelin Pilot Challenge, yeah, I think the McLaren's threw a little bit of a curveball this season, with clearly some improvements to the car that hadn't been anticipated. But hey, you know, you can't be perfect, and I'm sure that some adjustments will be made after they've looked through the data that was that they would have seen from here. I know Daytona is a bit of an anomalous circuit, just with the layout and the track configuration here, the way it plays to the strengths of different cars and weaknesses of others. But overall, I thought it was fantastic. I think, you know, aside from the McLarens yesterday, there were, I think, you know, in terms of the top speeds, there were about 5 different manufacturers all doing pretty much exactly the same. Lap times was ditto. TCR was really good. 4 manufacturers there.
Yeah, great.
And again, very closely matched. So that was a tremendous opening to the season. Again, yesterday there were way too many caution periods in a very messy race, but still there was some fantastic action. And no doubt we're going to see the same at Sebring. Might not see quite so many cars at Sebring, but I don't see that as a negative at all. There's certainly going to be plenty of high quality entrants to have some really good racing.
Not entirely certain why we didn't see the VWs in that particular race. That's something that I still haven't been able to get to the bottom of. Let's go to Grasser Racing, currently sitting on top of the pile in the green category, being GT Daytona, green being the numbers, the colour of the number panels. The number 11 car then sitting on the top. Christian Engelhardt brought that car into the pit lane. A topsy-turvy race for them, as many in GTD could say Bruce Jones, and well, none more than one of their drivers, Rick Breukers.
Rick Breukers, you know what it takes to win this race in the GTD class. It looks like you've done it all over again 12 months later, but it's been hard work this year, hasn't it? Not just because of the rain, just because the class is so competitive.
Yeah, the class is really competitive, and we were struggling a little bit in the beginning, but I think we have done a really good job, and now we're in a good position, so let's see where we end.
Well, will the cars get back on the track? Obviously, you already have victory this year in the Dubai 24 Hours. Couldn't be more different from the conditions here this weekend.
Yeah, it's totally different, of course. I think it's too much rain to continue, especially because there's such a less time left. It's safer for everyone to just call the finish, but of course we are in P1, so for us it is extra convenient to have it finished right now. But I really think it is the safest option.
Now, early in the race, the number 11 Grasser Racing Lamborghini took a couple of penalties, and that really pushed it down the charts. How did you manage to get back? Was that just using the yellow periods to your advantage?
A few times we got back in the lead lap by our own speed, but mostly because of the yellow flags. I think almost all the cars who on the lead lap have taken advantage of the yellow flags at least once. So, yeah, basically that.
Okay, well, the tension, well, not the tension, it's almost a party atmosphere at Grasser. We don't know if the race is going to restart, but if it doesn't, you'll be smiling again, Rick. Well done.
Thank you.
One so young doesn't need 2 Rolex Daytonas, I think. You know, I think
no, it doesn't need,
greedy, isn't it?
But I think he'll happily take them.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We've got about 8 minutes before we hear from IMSA about what's happening. Before we get to that, let's just give you the standings again. If you are just joining us, expecting to hear the excitement of the run to the checkered flag here at Daytona for the 57th running of the Rolex 24, then we are under red flag conditions for the second time in this race. 12:39, so just over an hour and 10 minutes ago. That was when the red flags were thrown, with at the moment 44 minutes of the race clock still counting down. In GTD, that number 11 Grasser Racing Lamborghini, the Huracan, is in first position from the 29 Motorplast by Land Audi in second, and the 12 Lexus in third position. In GT Le Mans, the top 3, BMW from RLL, the number 25 car, then the Risi Competizione Ferrari, and then the Ford GT number 67. LMP2 is Dragon Speed number 18 from Performance Tech number 38 and Dragon Speed number 81. And at the very top of the timing screen, 2 Cadillacs. The number 10, Konica Minolta Racing Cadillac DPI VR, ahead of the similar car but not similar livery. It's the red and white rather than the black of the number 10. The red and white Whelen Engineering car second, and the orange, white and black of the number 7 Acura Team Penske DPI in third position. That's your Cadillac hourly update with Cadillac V Series, where racetrack meets the road. So waiting for that update in around about 12 minutes time, or a little bit less than that actually. Yeah, just read my watch wrong. Well, that's 6 minutes time. 6 minutes time.
Speaking to Rick Brokers though, I mean, it could have been so different with that one of the many turn 1 incidents when Mirko Bortolotti was attacked from behind by 2 GT LM cars, wasn't he? And thought, I haven't got a clue what's going on here. Just turning in, braking at the usual point into turn 1, and bang, bang. And I think he got possibly hit for a 3rd time on the recovery as well. We grabbed a word with him very soon after that, didn't we? And he said, I didn't know what was happening, and that might have actually ruined our race. And there is the number 11 car. How quickly it could turn.
They had the penalty for the improper pass route. It cost them 2 laps.
2 laps. Yeah.
Okay, one of them they'd made up illegally, so it cost them. It really only cost them just 1 lap effectively. But then there were two drive-throughs, I think, weren't there?
Well, at least 2, I think. Yeah.
When it's your day,
I'll guarantee you, though, gentlemen, that there'll be stories like that as, oh, I was so close to not finishing this race, from pretty much everyone who's in a podium position, at least, and probably a few.
Cadillac, for instance.
Well, how close was Fernando Alonso? It was Alonso behind the wheel as well, wasn't it?
Missing the back of an LMP2
no, it
car.
wasn't. It was Jordan Taylor.
Taylor was faced with the oncoming Lamborghini.
So that's what you I thought that's what you were talking about.
No, but then there was the really close one at 6, wasn't there? Where
Sebastian
somebody in the fence
went straight on into the fence, and the back end of the car was sticking out at 6, and Fernando understeered, and you know, he must have thought, oh, you're kidding me.
Yeah, we've got this far, and I'm now going to plough in the side of an LMP2 car through no fault of my own. But they scampered free of that incident as well, and the great professional that he is, would have put that immediately behind him. And now at the top of the times, top of the charts, and on course for a race victory as we stand. But more news to come in under 5 minutes now.
For the spirit of the race, very tight between the marshals and the on-track marshals and track team, our camera operators, photographers and pit reporters. That's the way it stands right now, in no particular order.
No arguments anyone there.
Yeah. Kobe Lambeth says, no matter what the final call is, I think it's been a great race. Lots of incredible battles, drama and memorable moments. People are going to talk about the race stoppages and they're going to talk about the weather. And to major on that in this race, I think, Jeremy, would be a mistake, because the racing that we have had, particularly the long, again, as you and I have talked about this before, the long green flag spells have been outstanding.
Yeah, and there were a lot of them in the early stages. I mean, you know, there was relatively few cautions through till midnight, and there were long green flag spells and some just outstanding competition. We went, how long did we go? We went better part of 2 hours before the first caution period, and you know, we just saw tremendous racing all the way through. And you know, no complaints whatsoever about that. It later got, you know, messier and messier, but you know, and there was a good long period around about midnight too, which was probably a couple of hours or so. So there was plenty of good periods of racing. Yes, way too many cautions at the end of the day, but it was unquestionably a memorable motor race for the right reasons and not the wrong reasons.
This from Philip Lane. Has anyone signed up to do the 12 hours of Sebring and the 1,000 miles, the WEC race on Friday yet? Don't think so. Paul Dallalana was saying that they were considering it, but that his first priority was to the WEC. He is going down to Bathurst next weekend to race in the 12 hours there. Some 20 drivers or so heading away from here today or tomorrow, and getting into Sydney early on Wednesday morning before track activities for the support series start on Thursday morning Australian time. I haven't heard yet, and again, tweet us if you know differently. Haven't heard of anyone who's going to try and do those both races. Pretty grueling to do 12 hours at Sebring and do a 10-hour race before the Sebring 12 hours, the Mobil 1 Sebring 12 hours. That sounds like a tough ask for me.
It does, particularly at Sebring. I mean, Sebring is so physically demanding because of how, you know, the nature of the racetrack. I think that's asking an awful lot, and I'm not sure it's terribly fair on assuming you've got one program that's a priority over the other one. I think the secondary one is employer is potentially not going to be very happy. So no, I think it would be a very, very big ask to do that.
Okay, Jeremy.
Logistically too, quite frankly.
It is raining even harder down on the pit lane. Jamie Howe, sorry Jamie, has rejoined us back in the pit lane to join with Shea Adam. And the track dryers, you can probably just hear them on our effects mic, still working away, sweeping and drying. Johnny, what will you take away from this particular event? What will be the abiding memory for you?
Just the blistering pace of all the categories in the dry, really, and when Fernando Alonso took over the number 10 and was able to claw back quite a bit of time for the 10, mainly on the brakes, it would have appeared, but also then the fight back from the Acuras and the other major Cadillac in the race, the 31 car. Sadly, the others, the big caddies, didn't quite have the pace across the piece, but I mean, that duel between Alonso and Nasser and other drivers as well, and they were side by side for a number of laps, and I mean, very different lines then when we did get to the wet stuff, and you thought it's never going to work on that route around the high side at the horseshoes, for instance. And we have seen some superb, actually, overtake moves around the outside, both at turn 1, 3 and 5 that will live long in the memory. And the fact that, you know, this race, this event does appear to be somehow getting better with every 12 months on, and I'm delighted to be, you know, part of the championship at the start of the year as the line on the graph continues to incline. And the big question is, where do we go next? I know we've got the rest of the WeatherTech Sports Car Championship season to look forward to, beginning at Sebring in the middle of March, but, you know, think where we may be in 12 months' time at the start of 2020 for another Rolex.
Well, the condors on the coast, by which I am measuring the weather rolling in, have faded gently back into the greyness that's coming from the south and east of the racetrack here of Daytona International Speedway, and they've just, looks like someone has just gently airbrushed them out of the skyline as the low cloud encroaches again towards the far side of the racetrack, and we wait for official word. Steve Taylor, thank you for this. Just want to thank everyone involved with the Rolex 24, everyone from IMSA and RSL and IMSA Radio. Pass on my thanks to the people working from the pits, chatting to the drivers, the guests. You've really added to the race experience. Thank you, Steve. That's a very nice thing to say. Robert Butterfield says, I'm half expecting an announcement that Fernando Lamonzo, as Johnny called him, will be going for the North American Endurance Championship with Wayne Taylor Racing.
He'll have a bit of a busy Sebring if that is the case.
Well, good point. Yeah, good point. Well, nobody down on the starter stand, which is where the flags would come from. And it is now just after 2 o'clock. Expecting an announcement anytime soon, at least for an update from IMSA, where the clock has ticked down to 33 minutes to go. We have got official vehicles out on the circuit, as if I look down towards turn 1, in fact both of the Cayenne rapid response vehicles, the AMR branded cars or SUVs, are down in the turn 1 area. One of the jet dryers is blowing a huge amount of water from the inside line of turn number 1. There's a similar amount of work going on at other parts of the circuit, notably down by the entrance to running down from turn 5 into turn 6. A couple of, at least one road sweeper I can see down there, going backwards and forwards, trying to remove some of the puddled water. Also a jet dryer on the pit in area there, trying to blow some of the water away, I think just to let the water run further down off the banking, to be brutally honest. The weather, though, Johnny, does not look like it's playing ball here this afternoon.
No, and the situation was to be reassessed around about now, and I think this is really crunch time, isn't it? It's decision time. You can't let it run on much longer than this, because we'll be down to, even if there was a restart, we'll be down to something like a 25-minute sprint, and I don't think that's fair necessarily when we've all come here for a 24-hour race. But decision not in my hands, not in our hands. No, that will be deep in conversation in the next door room on our level and other places too, quite possibly. I'm sure the spotters and the corner workers will be reporting back to let them, to let the IMSA officials know quite how grippy or less grippy the corners are indeed.
Yeah, Andy Douglas has been watching and listening in France, where the time is just after 8 o'clock in the evening. Red flags really make you earn your keep, don't they? It's been fun having a little bit of a break from the bonkers action that we've had. And Siampan
Says great thanks to everybody at IMSA for another great race. It has been a good race. I think that's the thing that I'll take away from this. Is it frustrating that the weather has intervened? Well, of course it is, but it's weather. That's its job in some respects.
We had the same 2 years ago as well. We had, you know, a stupid spell where the rain came down and cars spinning off left, right and centre, and managed to get through that, and it provided a fabulous finish, although we did have that little bit of contact, you may remember, at turn 1.
Controversy, drama.
Well, yeah, virtually the last lap, wasn't it? At the start of the last or the penultimate lap, and it was allowed to sit, to lie, no further action, and I wonder whether we might be in store for a similar type finish. Last year, the weather didn't intervene, and we managed to get to a record race distance. Perhaps inevitable after the record-breaking 2018 running of the race, that 2019 might be cut a bit short.
Under half an hour to go, nearly 7 minutes past 2 Eastern time. We are waiting for that update, but to be honest, now we're getting to the stage where if the cars are going to be fired to get any kind of running, they'll need to be fired now for the last 15 minutes of getting a run out there. Thank you to all of you spectators who have stayed on. I hope you've managed to stay relatively warm and dry. There's still a huge amount of you in the infield listening on 107.9. A final big thank you from all of us race fans, and here at IMSA Radio we count ourselves as race fans first, to our track services, corner marshals, flaggers, and the recovery and intervention crews. Once again, you've done sterling work, ladies and gentlemen, and we salute your dedication to the sport. And also to the unsung heroes and heroines here at DIS, the people who punch the tickets, park the cars, to Joe, who's on duty at the Undercroft, where we come to park underneath this magnificent grandstand. A lot of you we see only maybe once or twice a year. A lot of you are in the same places for your duties here in the Rolex 24 weekend at the Raw, and you always make it feel like we're coming home. So thank you very much indeed, including the people who work on the lifts and the catering staff up here on the 5th floor. You make our work and our time here very enjoyable indeed. Congratulations to the management here at Daytona for putting on such a good show, and of course to IMSA and all of our IMSA officials as well. Once again, Jeremy, got to say, the environment which IMSA have created in the last 3 or 4 seasons, despite a couple of rules changes in different classes and the adoption of new formulae, different car specifications, the balance, all of that work has seemed to come to fruition in the last couple of seasons. Have been great. It looks like this year's off to a good start too.
Yeah, infectious enthusiasm is kind of the term that comes to mind.
Very
because
good.
Everybody, whatever level they're involved with this organisation, is happy to be here, and you speak to other people who are doing other things, and they would love to be part of it as well, because this is a great time for American motor racing in general, and certainly sports cars in particular.
Yeah.
This championship is just going from strength to strength, and with the leadership that there is at every level, it's the sky really is the limit.
Well, people joining us all the time here on IMSA Radio around the world and around the United States of America. Many of you will be wondering, as we are, whether we're going to get back under green flag conditions. 26 minutes to go on the clock, and the decision will need to be made soon, or effectively it will be taken out of the hands of the officials, because there just simply won't be enough time to get the cars fired up, get a couple of safety car laps, and then get underway and racing. Under 26 minutes to go now. A reminder for those of you who are listening and or watching that we've got a full season of IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship racing. Sirius 216 and XM 202 this weekend, but every single race available flag to flag on the Sirius XM system, also via the IMSA app, and the player at radiolemans.com. RS2 is IMSA Radio all the time, 24/7, not just on a race weekend, with IMSA content, including interviews, bonus coverage, and race replays, as well as car tests, interviews, and other features from the manufacturers and the personalities in the IMSA paddock. My goodness, we've got quite a lot of them. So make sure you tune in to our coverage, which starts again for IMSA, the live coverage in Sebring Race Week. But over on RS1 next week, we're down under for the 12 hours at Bathurst. Johnny Shane, myself, taking the run round. I can see down at Lamborghini a whole load of guys on the wall at the number 11 pit. They're lined up awaiting something. What's happening at Wayne Taylor's pit? That's right in front of us. They're trying to, wow, poker faces down at the Connington Minolta pit. Shea Adam is down there for us. Meanwhile, Jamie Howe is at BMW, and Rahal Letterman Lanigan, and we, like they, await a decision, an update. Shea, a strange mix of, I suppose, expectation and just a little bit of, well, oh, how much longer we're going to have to wait?
It's almost cruel, John, that they're being made to wait this way. And when was the last time that all of the drivers in a car got to celebrate a win together
that's a good point.
as it was announced?
Yeah.
So all four of them are up on the top area of the Pratt Birch. They're actually all underneath the tire blanket keeping warm because it is getting rather cold. And everybody trying to keep calm, a couple of smiles here and there, but also a couple of nervous faces as if we're not really going to go back to green, are we?
Well, time has now ticked down under 23 minutes. Still nobody on the starter stand to throw a red or a checker or anything like that. Kamui Kobayashi and Fernando Alonso, such firm teammates from the Toyota WEC team, Toyota Gazoo Racing. There's a bit of joviality going on there as Alonso, who was really taken to this race, as has Kobayashi, in fairness. They were a really good pairing, and they were plug and play into the Connington Minolta team, Jeremy, and fit right in with the regular drivers.
They did. They took it super seriously. They prepared themselves extremely well, and it showed as soon as they got behind the wheel of the cars. Kobayashi didn't get here till a little bit late, perhaps, on Thursday or Wednesday night, but he was ready to go when called into action and stepped it up. And was super fast, super reliable, barely any mistakes to speak of, and that team has thoroughly deserved what hopefully will be coming their way in just a few moments' time. Quite frankly, I can't quite figure out why we're waiting. We were told there'd be an announcement about 2 o'clock. I can't see really why.
Update at 2 o'clock, which we haven't had quite yet. The track services guys are still stalwarts trying to dry off parts of the track, but it is, if anything, raining harder. And just as I started that sentence, Jamie said the exact same words in my ear, and the low cloud and mist is rolling in again towards the edge of the airport.
I can see this going the distance somehow, because I don't understand why the decision hasn't been made yet.
20 minutes to go.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to take it's going to take 10 minutes to get the covers off the cars, to get the engines fired up, and the drivers in the cars, and then you're going to take a couple of pace laps. That's another 5 minutes each. I mean, there's the time gone right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed. I think that could have been called 5 minutes ago. So I just wonder whether the checkered flag will be shown on the dot at 2:35.
Well, that's still another 20 minutes away.
I'm well aware of that. So
my stomach's telling me that. I haven't had lunch yet.
No supper last night yet.
Now, you had a hot dog.
I did have a hot
did
dog.
tell me that. You went for
and you brought me something last night too, in actual fact. You brought me
yeah,
excellent piece of chicken.
The
and I had some
catering
breakfast
stuff.
this morning, I'm lying.
Yes, you went for the hot dog strategy earlier on rather than going for lunch. Johnny Palmer never misses a meal though.
Try not to. No, I can't function correctly without my 3 square ones through the day, whatever time they may end up being consumed.
Just from a IMSA radio point of view, thanks to Marion and Sandra over in the infield. I haven't been across to see you since the start of the race, ladies, but along with the rest of your hard-working crew, an incredible number of meals cranked out this weekend, looking after us again for the whole of the season, and most of the IMSA officials as well. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We'll see you down at Sebring. NBC on the air till 3 o'clock today. It's an awful lot of filling that they might have to do. Finally, we have somebody on the flag stand. Hello, Tanny. Hello, Dennis. Now, they came out of the rain a little while ago, but they have now retaken their positions down on the super high-tech flag stand over the start-finish line. Their walkie-talkies have been plugged back in. Dennis is holding his hands up as much as to say, don't look at me, Hindhoff. I don't know anything more than you do at the moment. I'm waiting for the call on the radio. But the fact that
a black jacket and a white jacket between them, I reckon, they just jump up and down a bit. That'll do it.
Seems a very long time ago that we got this underway, and there's been drama all the way through the dry start of the race, and then the overnight hours when it really kicked into action. Problem for the 24 BMW of Alexandra Zanardi when they dropped that car down and broke the connections on his very special paddle steering wheel. Had to have the whole steering column replaced. But at the front of the field, Johnny, when there's been racing, it's been of the very, very highest quality indeed. And it's also been a day, Jeremy, where some big teams haven't really worked seamlessly. Corvette Racing getting in each other's way and costing the 3 car in particular quite a lot of time.
Yeah, a lot of time, that's right. That was a very uncharacteristic mistake by the Corvette team, and that wasn't the last one, actually, was it?
No, early pace in the opening hours from the Mazda, but that was to come to naught. GT Daytona, everybody had a go at leading the race in conditions that ended up not being optimal. Harry Tinknell got a little tap from Catherine Legg, which turned him around out on the circuit, deemed a racing incident, and it was the very definition of a racing incident there as Harry was checking up for a BMW ahead. Turn 1 was the action area in wet or dry, with the prototypes coming together. Mark Kavame was sideways in his prototype and got picked up by the JDC Miller Motorsport car, ripped the rear suspension. But again, time after time, Jeremy, it just came back down to relentless, hard-charging, side-by-side racing from the DPI. Sometimes we've had to look at other classes to find action, but not here at the Rolex 24 at Daytona this year.
There was action in all the classes, all 4 classes. There might only have been 4 cars in LMP2, but that was a battle that went all the way down to the end pretty much, with one incident after another. There wasn't that much, as much wheel-to-wheel racing in that as there was a DPI, GTLM or GTD, but overall it really was a tremendously exciting motor race.
Awful few minutes for Mazda, with first the 55 going back behind the wall. That car was subsequently fixed and sent back out, but then an engine issue for the 77 that had broke the qualifying lap record, of course, set so many years ago by PJ Jones, and then it was Ollie Jarvis who took that. The Paul Dalla Lana Ferrari, the 51 car, with
issues at the kink in the 9th hour, and then we got back to side-by-side racing. And you know, every time you thought you'd turned a corner, things were settling down, it would close up at the front of the DPI field, and 1, 2, 3, or sometimes 4 and 5 cars were all battling side-by-side.
Yeah, we regularly had 4 cars on the lead lap, and almost always about a car length between them, the 2 Cadillacs and the 2 Acuras, for many, many hours. In fact, those 4 had broken away from the rest of the field, but managed to stay tightly bunched to one another. And it was always close battling in GTLM. We had 7 cars on the lead lap for a time. We had 6 cars.
Every manufacturer led, including Ferrari.
Yes. But and the question I was asking actually, Jerry, whilst you were out of the room, is that how many laps did BMW actually lead prior to this latest spell? I don't remember it being that many, the 25 BMW, but they have been there towards the end of the race when it all matters.
A race of great comebacks as well in some respects, because that number 3 Corvette that had the issue earlier on fought its way back to actually lead the class at one stage, and both the that looked absolutely not possible early on. 912 Porsche, exactly the same after split the problems early. And then again, you just keep coming back wherever you were to the front of the field. And then overnight, 5 o'clock in the morning, the rain that we had been expecting and that was forecast arrived. And it arrived with an absolute deluge. And Tommy Milner was really lucky to walk away from a big accident. I say lucky, the cars are properly engineered and they've got great safety features.
They certainly have. They're designed to be smacked from all angles and to keep the driver safe inside the safety cell. And there's nothing that Tommy Milner could have done about that. Slightly offline on the run into the corner. This was a horrendous start line incident when the number 9 piled into the back of the 46 car, removing certainly a wheel from the Lamborghini and putting the number 9 Porsche out on the spot as well.
Sump pump drive issues for the number 6 Acura, took that car behind the wall. We did have that red flag for almost exactly 90 minutes, 7:22 a.m. got back to racing, and it looked like we were going to get the same kind of action we'd seen earlier on, with just slightly greyer backdrop and everybody getting a little damper. And my goodness, didn't the guys at the front of the field put on a show. But the weather had the final say. Multiple incidents and accidents at turn 1, but still Felipe Nasser and Fernando Alonso, also Fernando's teammates as well, when they were in the car, everybody had a go, giving it absolutely everything. No quarter asked or given. Romain Dumas with a couple of spins, damaging the Nismo-powered 54 car. And in GTD, everyone who got to the front of the field seemed to have an issue and either spin away or have an accident that took them out of the running, including the 29 Motorplast by Land Audi. Couple of hours to go in the race. We saw what was to be the crucial and final acts of the race. Fernando Alonso, Felipe Nasser, side by side, corner after corner, and then at turn 1, it had to be at turn 1, didn't it really? Off into the water, Nasser couldn't get it back, and Fernando Alonso nipped through into a lead that he would not relinquish, despite going wide a couple of times himself, and Johnny having a couple of scares with people spinning and going off in front of him.
Yeah, the first with Jordan Taylor at the wheel when the Lamborghini spun right around in front of the American, and then when Spaniard Alonso took charge of that car for the final stint, nearly collecting the back of a stricken car at turn number 6.
Crucial moment in GT Le Mans when the 67 Ford GT came into the pits. As the yellow flags came out, they relinquished the lead, came back out in 3rd position, where it looks like they'll finish behind the Ferrari of Risi Competizione, and an emotional victory for the 25 BMW RLL team. I'm looking down towards the flag stand now, and we're waiting for the confirmation that this one is over. All the teams are as well. Everyone around the circuit with bated breath at the moment, and just 11 minutes to go. There's no time to get the cars fired up and back out onto the circuit. Renger van der Zande along with Jordan Taylor, and the checkered flag is waved with 11 minutes to go It's all over, not bar the shouting, it's all over and the shouting. Here at the 57th running of the Rolex 24 at Daytona. Let's get down to Shea Adam with the Wayne Taylor Racing Team.
You can hear all the excitement in the background as they're finally celebrating, and Max Angelelli is trying to get all the boys off of the pit box into the rain to be here with the rest of us, and it's because of this weather that they got the win. The checkered flag has been brought over, but the drivers have to get off the box and get into the rain to actually receive it. I love this. Jamie, with BMW, before we get the Wayne Taylor guys.
Well, the celebration pretty intense down here at BMW Team RLL. Augusto Farfus was part of this winning crew. Wasn't meant to be here until about a week ago. Augusto, let's see if we can get a word. Everybody's doing their congratulations, stepping in as the relief driver this weekend, but going home as a Rolex 24-hour of Daytona winner. Can you put it into words after the race today?
Oh, everybody's very happy here.
You can tell the emotion is high right now. Here's Connor DeFilippo. There are tears in the eyes. Connor, an American driver, winning America's race here, the Rolex 24 at Daytona. What are you feeling right now?
So many emotions. You know, these guys, a year ago to today, we had a really rough weekend, and we've worked really hard in the last 12 months. And first of all, you know, Augusto filled in a last-minute deal, but we're all thinking of Tom right now. He could have got in the car at the end and done the exact same job, and you know, I know Tom Blomqvist, he's been a big supporter, and we wish he was here. So a big shout out to him, and just shout out to the whole team. So proud of all the guys. We ran a flawless race, and you know, we led the lap we needed to lead, which was the last one.
Before I get out of here, congratulations, Connor. Alex Zanardi has come into the pit stall, congratulating everybody as well. I thought I was going to be able to get a word with young Colton Herta. Here he is. He was a rookie today, just 18 years old. Colton, I talked to your dad yesterday. He was so proud of the fact that you're making this start with BMW Team RLL, now going home with the Rolex. Congratulations.
It's the most expensive thing I own now, and I don't own much. I still live with my parents. Oh, that was so sweet. I just couldn't believe it. I'm in awe right now. That was the most tense hour and 45 minutes or whatever the red flag period was. I was so happy. The guys did an amazing job with fastest race lap as well, and yeah, that Rolex is gonna be pretty sweet.
Pretty sweet indeed. Congratulations, Shay.
For Renger van de Zande, this has been a long time coming. He finally gets a Rolex watch. He got on the podium when Wayne Taylor Racing won the race back in 2017, but Renger, it's top step and a brand new watch. What are you feeling right now?
You know, I'm gonna be on time every session now. You know, that's the thing. So no, super happy. It's you know, last year joining this team, and you could see that they're spot on with the strategy, and you could see that during this race as well. I'm thrilled. It's fantastic. It's Wayne puts things together, which is amazing, with Konica Minolta on board, with Cadillac, everyone doing the job what they have to do, and it's a puzzle, you know, and the puzzle fits, so it's really nice.
2 races in a row, roll on Sebring.
Exactly, yeah. Let's keep this going, right?
Bobby Rahal is with Jamie.
Well, Bobby Rahal is within my sights, I should say. There are so many people down here at BMW Team RLL. I was talking to him up on the wall. I think he can maybe even hear our microphone bleeding through the celebration. He can. He gave me the nod. Lots of hugs, lots of celebrations. Let's see if I can meet him halfway here. Team owner Bobby Rahal, you put together an amazing organization. 2 fantastic cars entered today, but you get to take home a Rolex. 24 hours ago, what did you think your chances were?
Well, I thought we were competitive, but you never really know. And it's such a tough crowd we race against. You know, the best teams in the world, really, and best manufacturers. You know, I mean, it's hard work to compete with these guys and to beat them. And you know, the team 25 car really ran faultlessly. It's a shame we had so many issues with the 24 car. I feel bad for them, but for our team, this is our 2nd decade with BMW, the start of it, and for us to bring this home to BMW, we're obviously pretty happy.
And it comes on the heels of a weekend where everyone at BMW was racing with heavy hearts this weekend following the passing of Charlie Lamb in the early hours of Friday mornings. Our thoughts, prayers out to their families, and a big congratulations to everyone at BMW.
Wayne Taylor, you've done it again. Another win of the Daytona 24 Hours. I'm so sorry to interrupt, but it was 2017 and 2019. The odd years are so good to you. Congratulations. You said you're too old for this. You're not, man. This makes you young.
No, I don't think so. You know, this is such a roller coaster in terms of the highs and lows and stuff that people will never understand. And it's impossible to explain to anybody what goes through my mind and my family and all my partners, Rick, and just everybody. Nobody will ever be able to understand the efforts, the focus, the vision, and how we all make this happen.
You put together a fantastic group of men and women. How about a word of praise for them?
Yes, of course. Without this team of people, their wives, their kids, you know, they're all like my family. And they're like Max, my partner, they're his family too.
Max, it's a win, but you don't get the watch this time. This is a weird situation. Congratulations, though. You're just as much a part of this team as anyone else.
Thank you. It's first time for me as a team owner, so it's I'm kind of still a rookie here, and but I enjoy the same way as I was when I was driving. So it's a great feeling. Thanks for everyone coming.
They're going to have a bottle of champagne just for you at the podium. I would hope so.
Absolutely. I'm going to drink it all in one go.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Shea Adam down with the winning DPI team, confirming the Cadillac number 10 of Connie Minolta winning from the 31 Whelen Engineering Cadillac in second. Third, but on the podium for Acura Team Penske, the number 7 car. And maybe the unluckiest car out there, the Nissan DPI, just off the overall podium. But I tell you what, you know, I bet Cole would have taken that before the race started, Jeremy.
Oh yeah, I mean, and particularly after the long delay they had late last night. So yeah, it's been a fine run for a first time out with that car.
We'll wrap up our race coverage. Official race time from IMSA, 23 hours and 50 minutes of the Rolex 24 at Daytona. We're going to hand the PA and 107.9 here back to our colleagues at Daytona for the formalities to start, and we will start Michelin post-race tech for the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship right now on RS2 IMSA Radio. Well, not very often that we get to start Michelin post-race tech actually before the finishing time of the race, which is still a minute and a half away, but the race called early here at Daytona because of bad weather. A red flag that came out 12:39. Let's head down to the pit lane and to the festivities and the formalities and speak straight away to the winning team owner in LMP2, Dragon Speed. Shea Adam is with Elton Julian.
Big smile on his face. Elton Julian, winner, Rolex 24 Hours. You guys get the watches.
I think the boys get the watches, but anyway, no, it's great. I'm really happy for Roberto and you know, and the whole crew. Roberto coming to race with us this year was a real pleasure for me. I haven't raced with Ricardo in the past, but the family feel and the way they go about business is a pleasure. And to bring them, we provide a service, and they delivered in the car. So it was really refreshing to see the smiles on their faces and a little bit of tears in their eyes, which is kind of cool, you know. I'm an old jaded guy. I've been around a bit, but this is cool. It's cool. It's really cool, and I'm happy for the series. It's sad that the event ended this way, because it was such a cool week, and you know, you can see the strength of the series coming. But yeah, it's good.
For Dragon Speed, though, there's more American racing on the schedule for this year. This is one heck of a way to kick it off with the win.
Yeah, I mean, there's no kidding. Any year you start with a victory is a good one. This is the first race of the year. I'm so lost nowadays. I don't even know which one it was last. No, this is great, and we finished off the year on a high in China, and to start off with a victory is great. And you know, we have to. Look, I'm not going to jump up and down and tell you that I'm amazed that I beat 3 other cars. The other one was also mine. But the reality is I'm looking at the board and I'm thinking, okay, we snuck up to 6th overall. And if you look at what I'm really proud of is if you look at the fact that that car is 6th, and every time there was a yellow, we had to let those DPIs by and get a lap back on us. When you start discounting those laps, we're 4th. And nipping at the heels of the supposed big factory teams with a really heavily BOP'd P2 car. So that tells me that the performance of the team and the execution of the team, the stuff I really care about, was great. And that I'm proud about.
Congrats.
Thank you.
I made it to victory lane. I walked in with Grasser Motorsports and all of their drivers. They were able to step over the fencing. I had to walk around it, so got lost a little bit. You hear the applause from the crowd as all of the drivers start to arrive here. I'm just running to catch up with them just a little bit here. Let's start with Christian Engelhardt going home with the Rolex 24 victory in these conditions today. How challenging was this race?
Crazy. It was really dangerous out there. Hard to see anything on the track, and going on 280 with aquaplaning. It was really a crazy race. Many ups and downs for us, but in the end we were there, and that's what counts. So we're really happy for Lamborghini, for the whole team, for Grasser the 2nd time here in a row. So for me the 1st time. Last year I was on the other car. This year I'm on the car, so really happy.
Well, congratulations on the victory. It's all about teamwork, Mirko. 2 years in a row now, Grasser's gone home with this Rolex 24 at Daytona victory. What was the biggest difference, aside from the weather, in this year's race?
It was just a roller coaster session, to be honest. We've been a few laps down. We've barely been in the lead of the race, then we came back through the night, and then we had another issue. We lost another lap, and coming back, winning it again back to back is like, needs to sink in first, just to realize it. And I'm just so proud right now to win it again. Incredible.
Incredible. Congratulations, Rolf. He said it needs to sink in a little bit. We've been sitting underneath the red flag. At what moment did it hit you that this could actually be a victory?
Well, to be honest, I don't believe it even now. Eh? Now it's something very special. To be in Daytona is one thing, but to win here, the chance to get on the podium here in Daytona is a dream. Now we did it the 2nd time, and I cannot believe this race is. It was a really roller coaster. It was very difficult for us. We were more than 3 times in the lead, and then we went back 1 lap again because we had accidents, we had penalties, and it really was a roller coaster. In the night, in the heavy rain, Mirko had quite a hard crash. I thought, okay, now it's over, the car is damaged too much, but even though we brought it home, it's an amazing job of the whole team. Team did really a great job. Christian did in the end a really nice stint. He brought it home. It was incredible.
It was incredible. That's the word that keeps being used. Rick, when you look at everything that had to be overcome today, there was the weather, there were the penalties, there was the damage. What do you think was the biggest thing that this team was able to overcome together?
Paid off. Of course, Christian did an amazing job on the end, and we were a bit lucky with the Fulco shadows, I have to admit. But in the end, everything fitted together, and we got the win. So we are extremely proud. 2nd year in a row. We didn't expect it, to be honest. So we are extremely happy.
A lot to be proud of. Congratulations.
Thank you. Jeremy and Shea down there in the pit lane. Let's get to some of your questions. The hashtag is Michelin PRT. And I think we'll probably lose the ladies now because the formalities are about to start. There is a huge number of points to Michelin PRT, Jeremy, about Fernando Alonso. Doug Schneider, the legend of Fernando, grew even larger today. He's not wrong. He's not wrong at all.
No, he was brilliant. We saw that true class this weekend. He was, well, he really was head and shoulders above everybody when he was in the car at those particular times. And he showed, wet or dry, he was absolutely outstanding. He made the pass for the lead yesterday evening, pulled away, and then when the rain came, he hammered home his superiority. It was a great performance. So the whole team did a great job. Kobayashi was super fast, as were Renger van der Zande and Jordan Taylor, and really didn't put a wheel wrong all the way through, so they absolutely deserved what they got.
Some of the other overtakes I remember from Alonso down the back straight into the bus stop on both of the Acuras. I think those overtakes were separated by a maximum of 2 laps. He came from so far back, you thought never going to make the corner, and somehow he did.
Let's not forget Jordan Taylor and Renger van der Zande and Kamui Kobayashi, who also played their part. Jordan in spades, in fact.
Well, that's what I just said, yeah. I mean,
yeah.
Absolutely, completely.
Yeah.
You know, it was a super team effort. It wasn't just a one-man band by any means.
I look at what we saw there, and I'm sure there will be the headlines that Alonso wins the Rolex. It has to be a team effort, but I've often said, Johnny, that I still believe Alonso is one of the very best drivers on the Formula One grid. He's not on the Formula One grid anymore. He has an innate ability, in my mind, to be able to get in a car and get the very, very most out of that car, and often even a little bit more. There were 6 Cadillacs in that race, and the number 10 car, particularly when Alonso was in it, was outperforming them all. It looked like a different car. Yes, it's his style of driving, he's very smooth, but that's what he does.
It's an interest in motorsport and an interest in different cars for me. A lot of people, a lot of young kids want to get to Formula One and think, that's it now, I've made it, I don't need to do anything else. Whereas Alonso, you know, has won the Formula One title a couple of times. It's in a barren spell for him right now because of the team he's with, and he's sought out racing elsewhere, at the Indy 500, at Le Mans, in the World Endurance Championship, and now he wanted to get his teeth into one of the big key players, the Cadillac run by Wayne Taylor Racing and Konica Minolta this year at Daytona, having tried the event out 12 months ago. But I honestly think it's because, you know, he has knowledge outside of the Formula One circus. There is incredibly competitive racing should you seek it out, and then once he sets his kind of the crosshair on the next challenge, wants to get beneath the skin of his ride for the weekend and how exactly he can pedal it as quickly and in some cases faster than his teammates.
Josh Barrett, what an extraordinary race. In the dry, some of the best racing hour after hour. What a season ahead. In the wet, fabulous shots from the cameras. In the worst conditions, just incredible driving, and still side-by-side racing. And that, Johnny, was every class. You know, the highlights reel that the guys put together at the end of every hour, they could have picked any one of probably 20 or 30 incidents or great overtakes or something that would have had you on the edge of your seat. There was not a dull hour in that race when cars were racing.
Certainly not. And in GTD, I need to go back through the lap charts to work out exactly how many different leaders we had. I mean, lead changes will probably be in three figures. Yeah. But, you know, how many different types of chassis did we have out front at any one time, and different team cars as well? I think in GTLM, every one of the major manufacturers in the GTLM category, the 9 cars that entered, had to go at leading, and we were in that sort of situation in the race at one point where one of the cars on one side of the garage was doing really well, the other one had fallen several laps down. And you know, Ford 67, great result, 66, awful. Chevrolet Corvette, well, both of them were doing pretty well until they collided in the pit lane, and then we had the Ford doing better than the three
fighting back.
And the Porsches, maybe the exception actually, because they were able to run nose to tail for long spells.
But the 912 dropped a load of time at the beginning with that split, a problem on the right front as well, but then actually got the better result.
Yes, bizarre. And then the 24 BMW, a long way back because of various issues, and the 25, I can't remember it leading until the final half an hour.
Oh yeah,
it did.
Oh yeah.
That's just poor memory on my part.
Periods, actually.
Oh, fine.
Yeah,
okay.
No, and you're right. It was so open in GTLM, but it's been sort of feast or famine, hasn't it, for most of the teams for the last couple of years. Corvette's been, you know, one guy, one team has a good year, the other one has a poor one. And Ford, it was the same problem last year. Otherwise, Ford would have won.
For me, in that class, it was the ebb and flow.
Well, we managed to get them all up there, didn't we? You know, I mean, and that's.
But as the conditions changed, when it was slightly warmer and then it cooled down, different cars clearly had a little bit of an advantage with different drivers, but also in different conditions. And I don't have a problem with that, Jeremy. I don't think you want to, and I don't think Simon Hodgson and Jeff Carter want to balance the variety out of a class like that. You want to say, oh well, in the wet such and such a car was better, or in the straights this car was better, and the guys have to drive quicker around the course. I mean, I just thought it was stunning, that GT Le Mans battle. We should say BMW 25 wins it from the Ferrari in second place, so nearly a fairy tale ending for Risi Competizione in the probably the only race we'll see them in this year. The Ford GT is classified in third position after that call to the pits just before the yellow flag, or just as the yellow flag was coming out. It may well be that Porsche are actually the least disappointed of the teams that didn't win, because they got fourth and fifth position with their two cars. So in terms of the Manufacturers' Championship, they've actually got a decent set of points.
Yeah, no, you just count the best one. Actually, you don't count two, you just count the one. So that'll be the order. But look, all five manufacturers should be proud of what they've done today. And Simon Hodgson and the team at IMSA, they should be high-fiving themselves, because they did, in my mind, an absolutely sensational job. And I'm sure if you go down and speak to any of those five manufacturer teams, I don't think you'll find any quibbling at all.
And just to remind myself, that was a specific Daytona balance of performance setting, was it? So, you know,
hasn't been done before. Hasn't been done before. And they collected a lot of data. You know, balance of performance are three dirty words for a lot of people, and I'm not the biggest fan of it, particularly not in GT Le Mans. I think if you've got confidence in your regulations, and I'm talking to you, the ACO, then you should be able to write a set of technical regulations that, if people adhere to them and you don't throw waivers out all over the place, that should give you the kind of racing that we had today. But that's not the situation. So that horse has bolted a very, very long time ago. GT3, GT4 balance of performance I accept unreservedly, because that's a different type of racing. I don't like it in GT Le Mans. However, what I will say is the way the guys at IMSA do it, it's not a finger in the air. It's not sitting behind closed doors and doing things without the understanding of what the law of unintended consequences brings when you make those changes. It's data driven, and it's a huge amount of data driven. And when Jeremy or I or anybody else sits down with Simon or any of the team and says, what's the BOP, have you changed this? Oh yeah, this is what we've done. Right, why have you done that? Oh yeah, what we're trying to achieve is this, because we saw this. And effectively, and I know I've said this analogy before, but it's still absolutely true. It's like doing your maths homework at school when you were in fourth and fifth form, and you couldn't just write down the answer. They wanted to see you working out. Well, Simon and the team provide you with the raison d'etre and the working out, and say, there you go, that's how we came to that answer.
And they do the same with the individual manufacturers.
Correct.
That's the key, I think, to why it works so well.
And they all sit around the table and discuss it before it's done. And it's not last one talking gets the best BOP, or the guy that shouts the loudest. It is agreed within that. I think that's a good point there, Jeremy. GTD was brilliant. Lamborghini, Audi, Lexus in the top three. Lance, monoplast by Lance, a little bit of redemption for them. Hey, Porsche pit stops to come. In all seriousness, thank you very much for giving us some of your airtime. And the Porsches coming in now as the GT pits are open. Shea Adam, 911, 912, coming in from the lead of GT Le Mans.
In the perfect order, too, because that is the way that their pit boxes are aligned towards pit out. It's going to be a lengthier stop for these two cars, and I say that meaning slightly because they are doing front brake changes on both of the cars. It is driver changes for both of the cars as well. Mr. Tandy, our pole sitter, is taking over the number 911, and Mr. Bamber is taking over the number 912. And if you remember, back in 20 2017, it looked like all hope was lost for Brendan Hartley, Earl Bamber, and Timo Bernard in the 24 Hours Le Mans. Their car going several laps down early on. They spent about an hour in the garage, managed to get out and somehow win the race. Well, the number 912 was the first car to come on the pit lane with some issues, and now it's back in the fight. So here we go. We're going to have Mr. Bamber trying to fight it out with his 2015 Le Mans winning teammate, Nick Tandy. They are still both up on the air jacks while we've got some GTD cars back out, and Bruce has been watching some of their stops.
Not all the stops are the same, but the number 4 Corvette came in, and you know what they did? Offered up some new brakes, had them ready on the pit wall, changed them super slickly, so that at least is done. Of course, the number 4 Corvette has had a rather troubled last half hour or so. Long pit stop for the number 66 Ford, waiting for the sister car to come into the neighbouring pit. That 66 car, again, they're having a brake change there as well. Still the tattered right rear corner that's been broken for a very long time in this race.
Thank you, Bruce. Bruce Jones might be something that IMSA will look at, but you've got to say the guys from McLaren did a good job. They've done a good job in development, and they broke no rules by not being here 2 weeks ago.
No, the only thing I would say is that though the cars are homologated, and that includes the electronics, as far as I'm concerned. And,
right.
The fact that the
and
cars
is that the changes that have been made, as far as you're aware?
Well, I mean, I don't think they made any other. I don't know any other changes that have been made, certainly, and the fact that it goes that much faster all of a sudden certainly raised a lot of eyebrows up and down the pit lane and in the IMSA technical department.
Michael Parkarainen says, if Alonso doesn't continue with Toyota Gazoo Racing after the WEC Super Season, do you think we'll see him back at the 6 hours of the Glen and Petit Le Mans with Wayne Taylor Racing? It's an interesting one, isn't it? He can't really do the race at Sebring. I suppose he could, because it'll be after his WEC race, but I can't see it happening. His focus for the rest of the season, he said in an interview earlier on this week, is Indy. After the, basically not even the WEC season now. He's won Le Mans, he's got the rest of the WEC season to go, but he's focusing on finishing the WEC season and getting that win, that elusive win at Indy, which would make him the Triple Crown winner. And you can understand that, Jeremy.
Yeah, yes, indeed you can. And I think it's most unlikely. I think, I'm not sure that some of the tracks we race on here, I mean, the guy's a racer, but I think he might be a bit daunted by some of the tracks on which we race, and that's not meant in any way as a criticism.
Well, the lineup for Sebring and that particular Toyota is confirmed, as far as I can tell. Mike Conway, sorry, I beg your pardon, Fernando Alonso, Sebastian Buemi, Kaz Nakajima, as it's been all year. But they're going to have to share a 1,000-mile race between 3 drivers. Imagine the amount of mileage that is, first of all, on a Friday for Alonso to do. Plus, he'd have to do
10 hours of racing, that. It's 1,000 miles or 10 hours.
It starts at 4 in the afternoon and will run through till midnight, I think, at an absolute maximum.
Well, that's 8. That's 8 hours then, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. I thought it was 10 hours, but yes, okay, then it's 8 hours of racing. It's still a lot of racing round Sebring. I'll tell you now, they'll be sore. They'll be sore in that car.
Well, even if you split it 3 ways, that's 2 3/4 hours pretty much, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, it's going to be an awful lot of mileage in the test sessions, and then he will have had to have done some of the, well, all of the free practice sessions, you would think, for
you'd have to go back and forth between the cars, and that's a tough ask to go.
And the pits aren't in the same place. One's at one side of the paddock, one's at the other.
Yeah,
but
your
point
just,
about
just physically driving in 2 completely different sorts of cars.
Your point about the WeatherTech race being after the World Endurance Championship race, it is, but you're going to have to be doing sessions leading up to it before the race, and that is enough of a distraction for Toyota to say no, I think.
Absolutely.
Well, and Toyota's aim is to get Alonso to win the World Endurance Championship, so they get another headline. Their big aim when they took him on board was win Le Mans, pole position for Le Mans, which his car did get, win Le Mans, win in Japan, win Le Mans again, win the championship. Those were the 4 things. That's what gets them the big PR payoff by having Alonso in the team. They're not going to put that at risk, Johnny, by potentially, if he had an accident whilst he was doing his 3 mandatory night laps in the Konica Minolta car, how would that look? He could easily come around Sunset and find someone in the middle of the road.
And
if they asked him to do it, he would do it. I've no doubt about that.
But I really don't think he would. He's too professional for that.
Well, I don't think Toyota would release it anyway. So I think it's a non-starter, if I'm honest. Robert Wilshire, this is a tough one. With the issue of the lack of cars in the P2 field for Daytona and for the season, would an invitation to Le Mans be useful to encourage more teams to take part in IMSA in the P2 class? Well, actually, there is an IMSA invitation to Le Mans that goes along with the Truman Aitken Awards. The Truman and Aitken Awards for the privateer teams, one in GTD and one in the P2 class, isn't it, Jeremy? For the privateer team, or the privateer or team who has the best results. The issue is going to be that we're not getting those Dragon Speed cars at Sebring for the rest of the season, so potentially we're already down to just 2 full season entries,
which isn't enough for a championship. No, for him. So I think there've got to be 3, as my understanding.
Well, I did see that they had put some new supplemental regulations into the book about what happens if there are fewer than 3 entries for podium celebrations, so and things like that, and how the classes get awarded. Robert, it's a difficult choice, but frankly, I think it was always going to happen, because the moment that you took, Jeremy, the P2s out of the opportunity to race for the overall victory at races like this, like Sebring, like Petit Le Mans, the extra wildcard entries, if you want to call them that would have come across or potentially come across from Europe, they're not going to make the trip. Yes, there's a Rolex watch at stake here, but you know, I know we go on about the Rolex watch, and it's a lovely thing to win, and everybody likes it, and they all talk about it. But winning this race overall and winning a championship overall is what those type of teams like Rebellion and United Autosports, that's what those guys are looking for.
Look, the way I look at it is, I would prefer to see. I love the LMP2. I think it's great.
Me too.
But I would prefer not to see LMP and see DPIs. But with the Pro-Am class in DPI, just kind of like we had last year, but all on a level play field, so everybody's got the same car. If you want to go for a Pro-Am for Truman Aitken, then great. We've already got John Bennett's in there, the JDC Miller Motorsports in there already.
Yes.
Try and make it more open and get some more DPIs out there.
No clear winner in the Spirit of the Race Award. The officials, photographers, camera people. So basically everybody who was working outside gets the Spirit of the Race Award. I don't think that's a bad thing to say. That was as voted by you. Fantastic race. All looking absolutely wonderful for the rest of the season. I hope you've enjoyed what we've put together. Quick final question from Adam Green. Some DPI teams complained about the pace early in the week, but it seemed even. Did your data and observations agree? I think the short answer to that, Jeremy, is yes.
Yep.
Absolutely thought it was fantastic.
Yep.
Happy with that?
Yeah, perfectly fine.
Right.
It's done its job, and it's provided a great race. And the question is, what's the rest of the season going to be like? As we think about a balance of performance that has to be right for the remaining rounds of the championship, and they are numerous.
Absolutely brilliant. I'll make this final comment from Spooner in Orange. I think today people may need to start to believe that Alonso is a true all-time great multi-discipline driver. His final stint was good, but his nighttime stints, 2 laps, 2 seconds a lap quicker than anybody else, at least, were simply fantastic and mind-blowing. Can't disagree with that. For IMSA, we'll be back in the week of Sebring for the Mobile One 12 hours next week on RS1. Midweek Motorsport from Bathurst, and the Liqui Moly 12 hours, every session live and most in sound and vision from the whole team here at Daytona International Speedway. Bye-bye, and thanks for listening to the 57th running of the Rolex 24 at Daytona.